And please remember to subscribe to both our YouTube and Facebook pages at the OneMic Show. And then follow us on Instagram at OneMic Show. We are also taking in live calls. The number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. And not forgetting kuwa ni furaha kujiunga nanyi wapenzi wa sikilizaji. Tukiwa tumekuandalia taarifa za kusisimua, mziki wa kata viungo na kindumbwe cha siasa au politics ukipenda. Now later tonight we're going to talk about the fact that some people are saying that Kenyan culture avoids conversations about money. But then there's another group that says Kenyans are always talking about money. What are some of the biggest myths that people, Kenyans even who've lived abroad, still hold about money, how to manage money, how to handle money? Which ones have worked for us and which ones have worked against us? Feel free to start typing down. Again, we'll be wanting to hear from you tonight. The number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. For the moment, start typing in the comment section and let us know what you think about that topic. Na bila kusahau, tumekuwa tukipokea mziki wetu toka DJ wetu machachari, mleta habari DJ OmoshFaya, na tutadunda kule viwanjani na Micah. Leo kuna habari nyingi sana za michezo, akiwa amevalia jezi yake nambari 7 mgongoni. Ya timu ile inaitwaje? Sikumbuki inaitwa vipi.
Umesema ileo cha Nick.
Basi hapo. Haya hapa super producer anaita Manchester United. Tutazungumzia baadaye. Na moja kwa moja toka Kilimanjaro Studios ni mimi mtangazaji na mwanahabari wako mpendwa Ali Badawy. Kwetu wananiita mteule na wengine mniite mjukuu yule wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui na sibagui. Karibuni tena.
Now, let's talk politics.
Now today there's going to be a mix of a lot of things besides politics. There's the new look Harambee Stars with South African coach Beni McCarthy. Will this be the turning point for Kenyan football? You know, like there was a very exciting game. People thinking too far based on that game, so which Kenya did not even win. But we'll be talking about it. New faces on the Harambee Stars team. And then, of course, the 2026 World Cup is coming up right here in the United States within less than 15 months. What's your plan? Are you going to take time off? What if Kenya qualifies against all odds? Because remember, this time there are 48 teams that are going to be playing in this World Cup. It's the first time ever. So I think Africa is going to be getting at least, at the bare minimum, 7 slots. So what if by that small chance Kenya qualifies? What are you going to do? Are you still going to go to work? Or will you try to find a way of going to the stadia where Kenya will be playing? And then, of course, not forgetting, we're also going to be talking about LA Rugby Sevens that's upcoming. And the ladies team has been doing amazing. You know, like they are on the verge of promotion. Not not quite there yet. You know, they have to come for qualifiers in LA, but they won 2 tournaments in a row in the Challenger Series. So we'll be talking about them. And of course, LA Rugby is coming up. And of course, I'm your host and producer, Ali Badawy. And it is Friday the 21st of March, and we're streaming live from Kilimanjaro Studios outside Washington, D.C. Now, please remember to like the OneMic Show on all our social media handles. I'm talking about Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and we're even on YouTube. Mr. OneMic is in tonight. And on the panel, super producer is gonna, I'm not sure the super producer will be part of the show today, but he might be in and out. And of course, our resident DJ OmoshFaya has been on the decks. Akiroga watu mpaka watu wanatoa machozi. And also not forgetting that Micah will also be right here with us, joining us via Zoom. I can see Njoki Merian is already in the building. Anasema, hello everyone, Njoki, karibu sana. Thank you so much for tuning in. Washeke Ndirangu, karibu sana. Yakobo in the building. Thank you so much, Yakobo. Anasema, kwani amecheza Mariah Carey? That's a question Yakobo is asking. And then Slay anasema that mix was fire. Washeke is saying, I need a sponsor to attend Hizo Beza World Cup are not for the faint of heart. Here's the good news. The good news is that it's going to be in the United States. You don't even have to be in the stadium. You know, because maybe making it to the stadium, maybe the prizes will be sponsor pricing. But as long as you're somewhere around there, around the building.
So when she's saying that the prices are hard, or should I say are high,
Has she signed up already and seen? Because I don't think they haven't released.
No, the teams
prices,
haven't.
right?
We don't even have the teams.
No,
the teams
no,
are still qualified.
Yeah, so just sign up. That's what I would do, because kuna ka sign up.
Or there's a sign up.
Kuna nini kuna vile unaweza sign up. It's like a lottery
Bado
system.
ijatokea.
Okay. Bado haijatokea.
Tickets come out after the.
No, I'm not saying that tickets are there. You sign up.
Omosh,
sorry.
listen.
Okay.
Unaagi ya bure.
Tell us, my friend. Mbona ukuongea saa zile nilikuwa nasema?
Si mlikuwa mmenimute hapa sasa hivi mnapenda kuongea mbaya sasa zile
mute him again.
Kwa tabia.
Mute him again.
No, I'm not muting him.
You guys mute him bana.
Ni mute anapo mosho.
Aya ngoja Mika, quick question. What is your plan for the World Cup? Na ukisalimia pia wasikilizaji because leo mmeingia.
Mika will have a press pass.
Leo mmefungwa tu gate.
Mnajua Mika ama mnamsikiaga?
What is the plan? Because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, especially for people who are soccer fanatics. This is a once. It's never coming to the US in our lifetime.
My plan is I'm going to attend a game in Seattle because my younger brother lives in Seattle, and his house, actually, his apartment faces straight into the stadium. So, like literally, he can watch a game. But then we are going to go. We are going to get tickets for the game. Hiyo tu ni ile after zile game zenye tutataka kuona za maana tutakuwa tunaona kutoka kwa nyumba. But then another plan that I have is I have to go watch a game in Mexico.
Yes, Monterrey.
Yeah. My plan is to go watch a game in Mexico.
Why not Canada?
Canada is a dull. They're like Americans when it comes to cheering sports and games. But then it depends on also where which teams are going to be put where.
Correct.
So, for example, depending on our African teams, if Kenya comes, I'll definitely try to go to as many Kenyan games as I can. If not, if Cameroon makes it, I'll go to Cameroon games. That Cameroon or Nigeria games. Those are the two African teams that I know. Also, Morocco, they play a very good. So basically, I'll try to attend as much African games as I can. So my teams are Kenya, number one, Italy, and any African team, any African game I can get tickets to.
So how do you get the tickets? I guess that's where we are coming to.
So how you get the tickets? The FIFA tickets, how you get the tickets? There are so many ways, from sponsors, but how do you get tickets? People who don't know that is when once the teams are qualified, they're going to FIFA usually releases a raffle, as Omosha said. You go and register. So when you register by your passport, so they know which team you're supporting. You choose a team and then you try to raffle for the tickets for that team. And also being in America, American fans, I'm gonna have I think they're gonna be given a way on how to. Yeah, they're just going to be tickets that are going to be allocated to American fans, because what they want is the tournament never wants to have empty stadiums in where they're hosting the game. So local fans, local teams, like teams are usually given host cities, and then that host city adopts you as your local fans. So that is where local fans tend to get easy access to ticket. And so there's that registration through FIFA. If you want to get cheap tickets, as Omosha said, go register through FIFA.
Okay.
Once you register through FIFA, you can be able to get into a raffle to get the tickets for free. If not, we know America is a country of resales. So Ticketmaster utapata ticket uko unaweza pata na bei mbaya sana. But as Alia said, just the games are good. But FIFA does allow fun festivals, fun villages.
Yes.
And those fun villages are fun. Those are where the party is. That is where the games are. So hizo pia ukifika hautakuwa umemiss sana.
Okay. So this is going to be an interesting World Cup, very opposite from what we saw in Qatar, where you could go. I think Qatar was the first World Cup where you could go watch 2 games on the same day, because it wasn't in different cities, which was very, very unusual for a World Cup, because a World Cup typically is hosted by a country. One game is in one city, another game is in a different city, so it was difficult. But Qatar presented that interesting phenomena of you're just in the same city. So it was a very fun World Cup to attend, and it was also a very pocket-friendly World Cup to attend, because you're not moving between different cities. Unaenda unalala unaamka, The following day, the games are still in the same city. So that was
Na
a
kuna
very
basi za
interesting.
bure.
Na kuna basi za sare, which Kenyans, Kenyan employees were directing, which is a good thing. Now, the one here in the US is going to be the total opposite. There are some games, even players, they might have to take 7-hour flights to go to the next stadium where they're going to be playing. Because imagine memaliza group games in, let's say, Miami. And then now your games in the second round ziko Seattle.
Canada.
Yeah. Wacha Canada. Canada ni karibu. Canada is very close, by the way. The next game iko Seattle. Flight from Miami to Seattle is close to 7 hours. It's like 6.5, 7 hours. So that's...
Lakini Omosh is right if it's in Vancouver.
No, lakini hapana. Do Vancouver have rights to hosts? Nilikuwa nafikiria ni peke
I
yake.
thought there were 2 cities.
There are 2 cities. Ebu check tena. I think it's only Toronto. I don't think Vancouver is in the mix. Because Seattle is also getting games, so I don't think Vancouver is in the mix.
You know the disadvantage of this World Cup?
Yeah.
It's going to be the weather.
Joto.
The Joto, yeah. The Joto is going to cause a lot of injuries, a lot of fatigue. Players will be getting tired early. It's not going to be as exciting as the Qatar.
Si Qatar pia kulikuwa na joto.
Qatar hakuwa na joto. Qatar ilikuwa
That
winter.
time it was
It was a cool time.
Yeah,
Okay.
It was a cool time, yeah.
Yeah, I know. And the ways the past few summers here have been brutal. So I think that might become an issue. Hapa Washeke was saying I need a sponsor to attend. Hizo bei za World Cup are not for the faint of heart. And then,
see me after the show.
And then, like Washeke was saying, I was also looking for accommodation. And then the other interesting place where games will be Dallas, because tuko na mafans wengi sana Dallas. So at least tuko Dallas, tuko sorted.
When
Dallas?
How far is Washeke from Dallas?
Texas is a big state. I never make assumptions.
No, sasa CA anatafuta accommodation na yuko already on the ground.
No.
Nani amekwambia nataka kwenda game za Dallas?
Oh, pole.
No, but still,
Sorry,
San Antonio is not next door to Dallas. Watu wa Dallas, hebu tuambieni, how far is San Antonio from Dallas? Dallas is a big state.
Hawezi commute atujui. Pengine
No, she was at last week alituambia alikuwa pali. What was it? Sijui, she was in some Eastern European city.
Kiev. Yeah. But unaona sasa hapa Slayer anasema I believe Arlington. I think that's where...
No, Dallas itakuwa kwa stadium ya Cowboys.
Yeah.
Hiyo ni Arlington, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sawa. Yeah. So unaona Washeke anasema it's 5 hours. So it's like from here to New York.
Oh, so si ashikilie tu na mtu wa kudrive and then they go.
Now 5 hours mnaweza enda na kurudi. Hiyo ni game ya kwenda na kurudi, but most of the time people will want accommodation because
Correct.
You can't just go for the game.
There's other things that come along.
So there's going to be a bash. There's going to
Yes.
be a bash where that game.
Okay,
Yeah.
Since we're in this World Cup topic, we might as well just cover it before we rudi tena kwa
Absolutely, yeah.
Go for it.
Talk to us, Micah.
So these are the things about the World. The good thing about the World Cup, as I just said, it's gonna be a huge tournament, more games that FIFA allowed to come into play, and for the first time we might be able to have more teams that have never come up to the World Cup before coming in. Now, it's something nice. It's something good. It's amazing. More teams, more growth by FIFA. A huge tournament. But then on the disadvantage is the host country. With Trump's immigration policy,
Where?
there are fears that there are some teams which might not have supporters allowed to come in. Delay in visa processing might delay supporters coming in to watch the game. So people don't know if they're going to issue a special visa category for World Cup, whereby if you apply, you go for an interview immediately, get a special visa that you come in and you can go out to beat. So the thing is that kuna hiyo quagmire ilikuja in terms of visas on how some teams are going to be. Let's say, for example, if Iran qualifies for the World Cup,
Oof. That will be amazing.
will they be playing without any fans?
Huh?
If Russia qualifies for the World Cup, if some of those countries in that visa ban list qualify for the World Cups, how are we going to see that?
I think Russia are now friends. I think those are friends.
No, Putin is a friend. See, they know the country.
Oh, Putin.
Putin,
Okay.
Putin the best.
Was it Russia? Was Russia on
Russia
a ban?
is still Russia
Were they
still
on a
is on
ban?
the
Or not the
no,
visa
they-
ban, the ban for games, or maybe
FIFA.
I'm mixing.
no Russia bado I think walitoka kwa ban ya FIFA.
Okay.
I have they I think so because
They might be on the ban for IOC. They might be on the IOC
Maybe
ban
I'm mixing.
still.
I think it's
Yeah.
IOC.
They are still on the IOC ban.
So those are some of the things that might put a spell on this World Cup. Another thing is, as Sheikh said, accommodation, because
Yeah.
hotels
Ish.
hotels are gonna be are going to be pretty expensive.
Extremely expensive.
I don't see
yes.
any cities increasing infrastructure to accommodate the World Cup in any way. So we are going to be competing between the regular thousands of US travelers plus an influx of foreign fans who want to move from city to city.
Oof.
Correct. So, Mika, unajua umesema kakitu move from city to city.
Yes.
That sounds like an
Because you're going to follow your team.
It sounds like an RV.
Now,
tuende tu sahi tuchukue RV.
by the way, RV, that's something that has been on my mind.
Tuende tu sahi tuchukue RV. Stoneface roho safi.
Because if you can rent an RV, let's say, I don't know how much they cost per day, whether it's 120. I don't know how much RVs cost per day, but
it depends.
yeah.
RV is going to pretty an RV right now, let's say a Winnebago hii ya kawaida tu yenye unafix kwa pickup yako cost
ile ya
more
kuvuta.
ya kuvuta.
Yeah, ile ya kuvuta costs more than 100 and something thousand. You're not gonna
At 100 and what?
No, for rent. We are renting.
For rent,
We
Nasema
are
not
renting.
buying.
We are
nasema
renting.
price yake, so even if you're renting it, you're not gonna pay 100,000.
Okay, I mean, tuseme, let's call it maybe, let's say hata kama ni $6,000 a month. And I don't know, I'm just here guessing. Let's say if it's $6,000 a month, that would still be cheaper if you're moving across the country than going and getting accommodation everywhere you go. It will
be, but
yeah.
then the good thing about the World Cup is that those villages where they put those supporters
the
villages,
pods.
those fan because like you see, if a game like let's say a stadium like which stadium is hosting on the East Coast?
Tabitha amesema tusisahau Houston.
Houston pia wana host.
That's what I don't know if Houston is hosting. Does Houston have
I
any
don't
games?
remember the stadiums often. I remember we covered the stadiums, but I'm saying, for example, in let's say Atlanta. I know Atlanta are going to be hosting.
Yes.
They're going to host, right?
Mhm.
So if Atlanta are going to be hosting, they're going to build a village, and that village. The good thing about that village is that you guys can camp out near there.
Okay.
So kuna kuanga na hizo
Accommodation.
fun villages where you guys can be near. And Kina Motel 6 and Airbnbs, that's where people are going to shine with Airbnbs. You can Airbnb out your rooms, you can do it. It's a good opportunity for people to make money.
For business, yes.
Yeah, for business. One of the positives, and especially with how we are foreseeing the future of things becoming hard a little bit, it's going to be a good relief for a lot of people for making money. A good tournament is good entertainment. That is a positive for it. The jobs that are going to be created, that's a good positive from it. So there's so many positives that are coming out, but then the potential of that positive being a lot is what's being hindered by some of the political atmosphere of how the country is.
Sasa, that's the one thing I wanted us to talk about, Mika, because the Qatar World Cup, despite all the propaganda that was there before, it turned out to be a very amazing World Cup.
It was the best World Cup. It was the best World Cup ever. Everybody agreed to it.
Agreed
to it. It was the best World Cup in terms of football quality and in terms of organization.
Yeah, but sasa here US, because of the climate that's in the US, whereby now even people coming from outside, right now US no longer has people who like us anymore. Because even Canada no longer likes the US. So I can imagine all these fans coming from all these countries. You first of all brought a very critical issue are fans gonna be allowed to get visas, especially if I'm thinking if a country like Venezuela qualifies for the World Cup? Are their fans gonna be are their fans just gonna be allowed in to get visas and come in for the World Cup? A lot of those countries that were on that list,
Ile band list.
that band list that was drawn up. In fact, even there's quite a number of African countries are in there. Cameroon was in there. I don't even know how Cameroon made that. I don't know what Cameroon did to deserve to be on that list. Very interesting. South Africa, we can understand. So South Africa, we can understand. But South Africa, they will selectively allow, white South Africans to come in. So at least that at the bare minimum, we know. So your climate, I don't know whether it's going to affect, but I have a feeling that by June of 2026, I have a feeling something will happen.
You're saying things will have changed?
Because the rate at which we are going, I mean, we are going to speed kills.
Something is going to have to give.
You know what's going to be the
kills.
barometer?
Yeah.
What's going to be the barometer is this summer's Club World Cup.
What do you mean by the barometer? As in terms of success?
Yes, to see,
Yes.
to gauge.
The Club World Cup is what's going to gauge how
things will
are
be.
going to happen.
Oh,
because,
okay.
Because the Club World Cup is also going to allow fans for various clubs to travel and come and watch their teams playing in the Club World Cup, which is going to be in the summer. And we have teams from all over the world in the different very different continental confederations that are coming in. So that's going to be like a test to see, first of all, what is the recipient, what is the atmosphere, how people are looking towards attending a big tournament in America, and also seeing if we are at a position where we can host such a huge tournament. So the Club World Cup is going to be a huge measure for it. One thing about the Club World Cup is kutakuwa na clubs zimetoka countries zingine where people would bother about them. So I'm sure people are going to watch games for Chelsea, Inter Miami, Man City, Real, Barca. People are not going to watch teams from Uko
Al Ahly.
Al Ahly, yeah. In Al Ahly, like kuna teams zingine hazitaonekana. So the Club World Cup is going to be to be a barometer for that. Now, as you've said, Ali, I believe that there is going to be a shift of how things are doing, because if we continue going on like this, I don't see a successful World Cup.
No, because at the pace we are going, Micah, America is now divided into very distinct factions.
Lines.
There are some historians who are comparing this moment to the moments before the Civil War, whereby Americans are seeing each other as enemies.
Yes.
Yes, Americans are seeing each other as enemies, and the temperatures, the way they're rising, a lot of things we thought can never happen in America, of course, they're already happening, where people are being arrested without due process. People who are here legally are being detained and being taken to other states so that they cannot get legal protection. And even worse, the executive or the president is defying court orders very blatantly. He's defying court orders.
Yeah. Si akona ile
kama
blanket
alichapo
statements.
Kasongo.
Yeah. So, but these are things that you never thought that you'd see in America. So,
Ali, kitu ingine pia,
Yes.
on the topic that you've said,
Yeah.
you umesema Americans are seeing each other in a very negative, different ways. Ni kama Tesla.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The owner of Tesla is deep MAGA. The customers of Teslas are not MAGA.
Yes.
They're conservatives.
They are liberals.
And that is why, they're liberals. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're liberals. And that is why you're seeing they're returning them. They're taking them back. And the boycott is working, because most of the people he leans to are not working for them. In the same way, Trump has fully put himself behind this World Cup. He's the one who actually made FIFA bring this World Cup when he promised them a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
And they brought this World Cup. And it was during that time when they were pushing for that, when there was that scandal of corrupt FIFA officials.
Yes.
Remember, it was the FBI who
Qatar,
actually
yeah.
pushed for the prosecution of people going on. And that was during Trump's tenure, and he pushed for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and fans of football are liberal.
Now that's
Majority of them.
that's
Unaona?
that,
So
yes.
so there's that like we're in that position whereby right now we really don't know where we are, right? Like we don't know where we're standing. We don't know how things are going. Is it going to be for the love of the game that's going to win and everybody's going to come out and go there? Or is it going to be a situation whereby, this thing is tied to this guy's name? F it, we're not going.
And then you see if Trump goes to a game, you know what's most likely gonna happen? He's gonna get
Booze.
booed. He's gonna get booed, and he's very sensitive to stuff like that.
He's gonna go to games in Boston. I mean, in Texas. For
Yeah, so I don't know exactly. Even if he goes to
sure.
Texas,
Texas and New York.
the fans of soccer in Texas, like Micah is saying,
Yes.
is liberal people. You don't expect boot and hat wearing cowboys to come watch soccer. They're not your typical
Maybe I
soccer fans.
Maybe I in San Francisco, Sijui.
I mean, regardless of what city it will go to, and actually Omosh remind us again those cities where these games are gonna be played in, because I noticed that I'd assumed that in Canada it's only gonna be Toronto, but clearly there's also Vancouver, British Columbia.
Correct.
They will also have games there.
So Atlanta, Arlington, Texas, Atlanta, yes, like I said, Boston, Guadalajara, Mexico, Houston, Kansas City, Missouri, Los Angeles, Mexico City, Miami, Monterrey, which is basically Estadio BBVA, which is that's Mexico, New York, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Seattle, Toronto, and Vancouver in Canada.
Okay, all right. So those are the cities. And I want to remind the listeners that you tuned into the One Mic Show. Please call in and let us know what your plans are for the
They will go to a
2026
game in
World Cup.
Kansas. Huko kuna watu wake.
Or Kansas Pia. Kansas Pia
yeah,
kuna game.
and that's going to be at Arrowhead Stadium.
Now, again, the number is 202-683-4570. Press star 5. Kansas got some games and DMV got none. I'm still not over that. But let's move on.
Normally we would have gotten games, but I think they had to play Cheza Kamau because I think they were probably looking at Philly and New York being close.
Hatuna stadium.
So, okay.
FedEx Field ingeweza.
FedEx Field ni stadium ama cho.
No, Cho ni MNT Stadium.
No,
MNT is actually a way modern stadium than FedEx.
Let's agree to disagree. Let's agree to disagree.
Ali, that one we can. That one we can argue. We can argue back tomorrow. FedEx is pretty. I've gone to both stadiums.
Me too.
I think it's capacity.
Yeah.
I think it's capacity.
No, MNT should maintain the capacity. FedEx is big enough.
Yeah, FedEx is big enough.
FedEx is old.
But between MNT and FedEx, which is older?
MNT has had refurbishment.
It was refurbished.
Like MNT was given a whole facelift. I was in MNT last year.
MNT.
It's been refurbished. It's a totally different stadium.
MNT gives City Stadium vibes.
No.
Nenda kwa study alafu ndio sema.
Nimeenda study. Nimeenda when
MNT mwisho siku gani?
Ilikuwa it was last summer when Arsenal was playing there.
Okay.
It was last summer.
And then ulienda FedEx mwisho siku gani? Ukompezo stadium mbili.
FedEx nimeenda pia this year sijaingia FedEx.
Yeah, FedEx is worn out. Yeah. FedEx is a worn out stadium. FedEx ningekuwa stadium yetu ya kuhost game.
Okay.
No, FedEx in capacity, FedEx would have been the stadium.
I think 76 to 80.
Yeah. But FedEx is hey man, ukacompare FedEx ukiangalia kitu kama ile
I see what Micah is saying. What Micah is saying
is old,
is that it needs to be
refurbed.
It needs to be refurbed. It needs to be refurbed ndio ingie your standard.
And then the purpose built
it's so old. It's like iko na teknolojia 1950 sijui ngapi.
No, but MNT is older than me. Unasema so old.
But MNT is old, but it has been refurbished.
Imepigwa refurb. And I see what Micah is saying because
MT has been refurbished, has been modernized. you know difference.
Normally
unaona ile afili hata ile afili ya Eagles.
Lincoln.
Lincoln, it's old, but Lincoln imetengenezwa, imekuwa refurbed.
You're MNT and FedEx. We can agree to disagree.
Na mulienda MetLife, New York.
Tulienda MetLife,
That was refurbed also, right? So it was
refurbed.
No, MetLife is also MetLife is also a good stadium.
What did they used to call that stadium? What was their old name?
And then unaona the purpose-built stadiums za soccer in the US are too small. They cannot host a World Cup game.
No, they can't.
Because unaona easy hapa. I don't know whether we have a big purpose-built stadium in the US for soccer, but most of them are no more than 20,000 capacity.
Azijapita.
Yeah,
and na hiyo crowd nakumbuka, in fact actually nakumbuka FedExville nilienda kuona, ilikuwa I think Real Madrid na was it Chelsea or something like that, or Real Madrid and some other team. That thing had like 80,000 people in it. 76 to 80,000 people.
Ile game ya United na Barcelona ilikuwa karibu kufika 90,000. Ilikuwa imejaa but it's huge. It has a high capacity.
Alafu wewe ndio ule mtu uko kwa ile pole. Unaweza kuna couple kengine waga
alafu hiyo ndio shida nyingine, design yake.
I know what you're talking about.
Madhe hiyo pole ni mpaka uende ile ile bunduki ya reke squad.
Yeah, but unajua kuna some very modern stadiums, like the SoFi Stadium.
Yes.
Would like to see how
even
Mercedes-Benz. Yeah.
SoFi, Allegiant, Mercedes-Benz. Those three stadiums are wonderful. And then the Miami one.
Allegiant ile ya nini? Allegiant ya Vegas. Yes, ile karibu na Mandalay.
But that's brand new, but we haven't even cooled that one yet.
You guys, those three stadiums.
I don't know why they didn't go to Vegas. I guess they figured Vegas you cannot take family friendly. Maybe I don't know.
Heat.
Okay.
Yeah, Vegas, the heat is too oppressive.
Wataki kesi za mafano wamelewa wamekufa kwa streets.
Meadowlands, the MetLife was called the Meadowlands.
Yeah, Meadowlands, and I lived in that area, I should have remembered.
JJ, thank you.
Yeah, and I think most countries, like with young players, hawataki kwenda Vegas because players might accidentally get distracted and find themselves in PH.
Accidentally?
Unaingia PH hivi unakutana na Bukayo Saka.
Wacha wakutane na Wakenya.
You think?
They might accidentally.
Wakutana na Wakenya. It's a rap. It's a throw.
You think?
So it will be very interesting, but the mood that's in the country is very dark.
Correct.
And I'm hoping by the time we get there, hata kama tutakuwa na President J.D. Vance. Because that's a possibility.
Because but Ali, you think about it.
Yeah.
Before the Qatar World Cup.
Yeah.
A year out.
Yeah.
The amount of
propaganda.
No. Just advertising, word.
Yes.
The amount of preparations that was going, like the word was out there.
That thing was amazing.
But it was out there. Everyone was talking about that.
Yeah.
Propaganda or not.
Yeah.
It was in the mouths of everyone.
Yes.
Right now, we are technically about a year...
15 months.
15 months.
Yes.
A year, 3 months. Out. And guys are not
dead
talking
silence
about World Cup.
No one. In fact, even people are regretting why it's in the US.
And, like as Micah said, because you think about it, the brouhaha that is going on. Mexico, the 51st state, is it the 52nd? Oh, sorry, Canada, right? And whatever, and the tariffs and because like now you think about it, like if guys from Canada, Mexico want to come and watch a game here, what's going to happen? Because let's think about that.
Yeah, that's something we've not thought about.
Because think about it. Because I was watching. There's some guys. I think it was 60 Minutes. There's some guys, Americans, Wanamkanga. They go to the border.
Mexico, yeah.
Present their papers, they walk in. They go out, they do their thing, they come back later.
Correct.
Now, they're waiting up to 5-6 hours.
On the border?
Yes.
To get into Mexico. Mexico in our Kazia pia.
At the border,
kuna watu wengi wenda grocery shopping in Mexico.
At the border, guys, there's a holding, there's a waiting area or whatever.
A holding.
Waiting area. I would say holding, because holding will mean that but
so
it's a waiting area.
Are they being interviewed for, or
you have to get permission and get a visa, and they have to process you and whatever it is. So whatever it is that is going on
the Canadian,
the
Mexican side,
going into Mexico.
Yeah, there's a lot of activity that.
So there's a lot of activity.
They also used to be a lot of people coming back.
Yeah, but
even going to school in the US and going back.
But now, with whatever is going on right now, that's the mere fact that there's a game, you guys support, let's say, Spain, or you support a
or even
team,
Mexico. And Mexico is playing in the US.
And or vice versa. Or Mexico has a
US,
team.
Or US is playing in Mexico.
And you guys want to go to support.
Yeah.
Because you think about that logistics. Because back in the day, like, I know guys would go to LA for rugby. Na wanavuka to
Mexico, yes.
Na wanarudi.
No, unajua, the time I remember when I was living in Arizona, we went to party in San Diego, tukaenda kula tacos Mexico na tukarudi. Like, it's just that everybody's got their idea. Like, kila mtu straight up, right? Kila kitu kwa vitu zako, unajua social number yako, yeah, let's go. And then it was an easy process to go and come back. And kwanza kwa hiyo street, the same street to up, it was very easy to do that. Now the thing is that and then unajua hiyo ni kitu moja umesema pia, we can also add that you might be a fan who's traveled from another country and then you've come, and then usually when they have that multi-country tournament, visa yako inakwanga inakubali unazaingia country zote mbili ama tatu zenye ina host. So you might be a fan who's come from another country, right? You've flown all the way from England, umekuja kuona England, then England na game Monterrey,
Netherlands, whatever team, France.
Kwenda Monterrey, hiyo stress ya kuvuka border na kurudi ita put off a lot of fans.
Sindio?
Yes,
because you think about it, you know, I'm not being a conspiracy theorist, or I'm reaching, but the kid from Columbia University, right?
Mohammed Khalil,
you know, whatever, you know, the right to protest, it's under question. He's not been prosecuted. He's not been charged with anything.
No,
right? But you guys also heard about who was it? There was either a French or a German. Somebody was coming in on a visitor's visa. Of course, they take your phone.
Yeah.
Anything that is purporting to say, if either you're, if you say anything bad about Trump or whatever, who knows? Unaweza ambiwa hawezi kaingia.
Yeah, that's what.
There's also think about that, because if and there's also that ban. Like I think you're talking about, you know, when you're those African countries, or there are those countries that have been banned. So of course, let's say those ones are waingi, but anyone else who's coming as a visitor, you're coming into the States. And because let's say your country is gonna be playing in one of the fields or one of the games, or one of the fields, one of the stadiums, or one of the places here. Sasa hiyo ni shida ingine, because now you have to, you're being processed. Have you said anything that is bad or whatever? You just don't know to what extent this Mathogodhanio and Mataheko is how far reaching it's going to go.
Okay, a couple of comments here coming in from our listeners. Let me see. Washeke is saying, I believe something is going to give this year as unemployment rises, inflation heats up, and those billionaires start feeling the pain. So that was a bit back. Then Yakobo Simba nasema Philly, Super Bowl champions and World Cup hosts. Hey, just had to bring that in. And then Brian B. Nyamu pia hapo anaonekana pia ni mtu wa Philly. Anasema Philadelphia hapa tu. And then anasema City of Brotherly Love. And then I can see here Stephen JJ anasema Meadowland, something like that.
That was when Micah was asking the former name for the stadium. Omosh.
Oh, okay.
It was the Meadowlands before it became MetLife.
Okay, before it became MetLife.
Yes.
And then Slay is saying we're distracted by the shenanigans going on. Yakobo Simba anasema World Cup is a unifying tournament, but Trump is a divisive jamaa.
Kabisa.
Other countries are being bullied by him. And then Slay anasema Canada and Mexico say they're going toe to toe. Washeke anasema Mexican never used to enforce the visa requirements to enter Mexico. Many Americans go there for medical care, pharmacies, groceries, because everything is way cheaper. But for the last 1 month, Mexico is now enforcing visas, and it's taking hours just for processing at the border, which, and I'm in support of Mexico. Wacha waendelee kufanya hivyo. And then hapa Yakobo anasema attendance will be low because foreign-based people will not want to travel for the games, meaning that local fans will have to show up in numbers. But there's also the issue with economic strains, Washeke highlighted earlier. Because it's going to be a very expensive World Cup to attend.
But let's hypothetically, let's hypothesize, yeah?
Yeah.
People may not want to come to Stato. Most guys will probably want to go to Mexico and Canada.
But I think the big games.
But now the thing is,
big games are here.
They are, but
the majority of the games are here.
They're here, but people will be like, you know what? In you pussy.
But then the thing is, what if your team is not there?
Again, people will be like, you know what? Because you remember, it's a hassle.
Yeah, but you know, Uno, I get what you're saying, but think of it this way: the World Cup comes once every 4 years.
Yeah. That is true. Agreed.
And so, if you have the opportunity to even get a ticket, B, to be able to even come,
people will want to come and support
come
their
in
team.
and do whatever it is, and no matter what people are gonna go through. Because you remember, even Qatar, everybody was so skeptical about it, right?
Wacha kwambie, ungekuwa Kenya, alafu Kenya qualify.
Unanunua tikiti unatokelezea.
Trump akakuzuia kuja kuona game kama utakuona game. Hata mimi Trump hawezi kwenda kuona game ya Kenya kanda.
No, vile utafanya unachukua simu, una wipe kila kitu.
Now
restart to factory setting.
The one unique thing about the Qatar World Cup, the one unique thing about the Qatar World Cup, it attracted even people who did not have their countries playing. When you think about, you know, like the average Kenyans who went to the Qatar World Cup, walikuwa ni wengi sana. You know, like it was one of those very user-friendly World Cups, and Qatar was a friendly place where a lot of even tourists just liked going. So it will be interesting to see what's going to happen.
I was in Qatar during World Cup. I didn't get to the stadium, but just being at the airport, the electricity at the airport, they had all the memorabilia,
everything.
Yani mpaka
hata mimi nilipitia Qatar nikaenda Kenya hiyo mwaka. Unajua kwanza mkifika hata kwa ndege mnapewa nini, mnapewa like vitu za
even World Cup memorabilia. It was very nice. It was very nice. And if you just in between you go, at least you penya, you buy a Kaluska t-shirt, a Luska sijui nini. And for a lot of the countries, they had stuff. Of course, kuna zile, of course, zinaendaga, uweze pata vitu. Like African countries, it was hard to find anything for African countries.
Yes.
And I think I passed through there during, was it quarterfinals? I think it was during quarterfinals is when I passed through. But you felt the electricity. It reminded me almost as much as the electricity of Summer Olympics in London. Passing again through the airport, where they even and that time even London, because London normally
it
2012 yes.
Yeah.
Normally they don't even give what do you call it, cheap taxes or whatever. They even lifted those fuel subsidies that they had that time to encourage a lot more people to travel and come through. So it was cheaper to go through London than it was to go through Europe. In terms of Amsterdam and stuff like that time, because London was trying to, the UK was trying to get people to go there.
Yeah,
so it was cheaper for me to go through there. Otherwise, I would never go through there because they normally charge a high airport tax,
transit fee. Yeah, in fact, it's been
normally very, very expensive.
Besides the first time I came to the US, I've never used London. I don't know. Now the other interesting World Cup, as we transition into now. Kenyan Football, Harambee Stars, but the other interesting World Cup that's still far out is the one that's going to be in Saudi Arabia. Yes. That will be another interesting World Cup. 2034. Yeah, 2034.
So hiyo pia wataongeza ma teams ama zitakuwa tu easy.
We don't know. Where is it going to be in 2030? 2030 inaenda wapi? Because 2034, Saudi is already marketing it now.
Yes,
but I thought they got it.
They just got it. But they've already started marketing it.
Where, Micah? Where is 2030?
Yeah, 2030. I don't even remember.
Let me see.
It's in Europe.
Europe.
Is it?
Yeah.
Why did I think
It's
it was
in
somewhere
Europe.
else?
Yeah.
2030 World Cup.
But year 2034.
Oh, Portugal, Morocco,
Portugal,
Spain.
Oh, and
Wow.
Africa.
That's
The
Africa.
three countries.
That's
Yeah.
Africa.
So technically, yeah, Apple.
Yeah, so I
it's
think
Africa. They may not
Morocco
want
will
it
get
to
a
be,
few
but,
games.
It's already sorted.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Actually, there's going to be one game
Uh-huh.
in 2030 that's going to be played in Argentina.
Ai, kwani sasa what's going on? Kwani hiyo sasa
No,
inakuwa
Paraguay. Ni Paraguay.
Ni
Si
Paraguay.
Argentina, ni Paraguay.
It's Paraguay.
Yeah, it's going to
Yes.
be in Paraguay. yeah.
Paraguay.
It's
One
going-
game is
it's
gonna
going-
be in
because
Paraguay.
it's going to be
in 3 continents.
yes. So the reason they say that
Two
it's
continents,
supposed
two.
to it's supposed to be
Three.
marking
It'll be
something.
3.
Two.
No, 3.
The game is
Paraguay,
supposed.
South
I think
America.
it's supposed to be either it's marking the first World
Spain
Cup
is.
game that was played, but it's supposed to work as a significant thing for
Morocco
the
is
tournament.
Africa.
So that will be very complicated.
It's the
Your
100
game ya
it's
Paraguay.
it's the centenary games.
The
Basically.
centenary games
Yeah,
for the
that's
World
what it
Cup.
is.
Your
yeah.
game ya Paraguay, unless Kenya is playing. That one I can guarantee you I'm not going. Because Morocco and Spain and Portugal ziko hapo, they're all within.
Yeah, unavuka tu border
Yeah.
na nini? What is it? What's that?
The-
Ferry.
With a boat.
Unavuka na ferry.
they're all within proximity.
You might be confused for.
Oh yes.
Sorry, I'm
yes.
sorry.
Mtu
I'm sorry.
amekuja
Too
na
soon.
nini banana nini?
Banana boat. Sorry.
Yeah.
so soon.
Yeah, I mean that will be Qatar will be a difficult. I think the only other World Cup that may compete with Qatar is the one that's coming in Saudi Arabia, because MBS he likes those challenges.
Oh, Micah
You know-
stand corrected, Paul. Micah stand corrected. Uruguay, Paraguay, and Argentina will each host one, and that's going to be the marking.
Uruguay, Paraguay, and Argentina.
Each,
So
the
three
first
three
games,
countries.
yes,
Yeah.
the first 3 games are going to be held in Paraguay, Uruguay, and Argentina to mark the 100th anniversary or centenary of the first World Cup. Then after that, then is when they do their Portugal, Spain, Morocco.
Because World Cup ya kwanza I think ilikuwa huko.
Yeah.
That's so Mika was right.
That is
partially right,
That
yes.
is way too complicated. Wacha to hope.
Na huko Paraguay, Uruguay, sijui Argentina.
Yeah.
Huko if you're black, unajua
Yeah,
huko ni
huko, yeah,
matoko
huko, yeah.
mataheko.
Saa labda to hope World Cup 2038 itakuwa
South Africa.
itakuwa Kenya when Kasongo is serving his 3rd term. He might try to bring World Cup to Kenya.
El Chapo.
Yeah, because
Bure kabisa.
quick political interlude. And this is just my theory.
Omosh.
I'm tired.
Quick political interlude. Just a quick interlude.
No, please.
And this is totally my theory.
Don't make it quick.
Yeah, don't
Let it last.
Don't quote me. So my theory is 2027.
Correct.
Whatever shenanigans is going on now with the new broad-based
bread-based.
whatever you call it, the broad-based arrangement, we've seen Baba's people now get into positions as PSs, as ambassadors, and a lot of other positions. Here's my thinking. Because Kasongo is playing the long game. He's not and that's how he's always been. He's playing the long game. He knows he's lost popularity, and he knows it's gonna take a while to regain back this popularity. So what he might end up doing is that there will very likely be a referendum. Maybe later this year or early next year. In that referendum, they're gonna officialize mambo ya official opposition leader, and then prime minister, president.
Na kuongeza term.
So I think that's what I know they'll do it gradually. They can't if they throw everything at the same time.
They are good for throwing things
So
at the same time.
what happened to BBI is what will happen to it. So I think this time they have experience with BBI. So I think they'll do that, and then what's going to happen in 2027, believe it or not, Kasongo will let Baba run for president. Now, if Kasongo lets Baba run for president and Baba wins, then Kasongo now plays.
Akona 2 terms zingine.
Now Kasongo plays second fiddle as a prime minister, because now he's playing the long game. He knows he's unpopular. So, and when Baba goes in, Baba is how old right now? He's 80 something. So he's getting advanced in age. So what Kasongo is banking on is once he makes Baba president, guess what? Especially people from Luo Nyanza are gonna feel.
Hata
That-
si ndio Nyanza, watu wengi
Watu
sana,
wengi
you'll
sana,
feel-
they will feel indebted. This is the guy who made Baba president.
Dano
Baba's
Fungwai.
been trying from 97. So guess what's gonna happen? He will inherit Baba's base. And once he has inherited Baba's base, because right now there's been no one, Baba doesn't have a lieutenant per
No,
se.
he doesn't.
He doesn't have a lieutenant. Even if something were to happen to him right now, he doesn't have a lieutenant. So he's gonna posture and put himself in that position and inherit Baba's base. Now, once you have Baba's base, they go back to another referendum. You know what this referendum says? Now a term is 7 years and he can run for another 2 terms. So Baba runs from 2027, 2032. Then guess who comes back in 2032? Kasongo,
Kasongo for
yeah,
14 years.
For 14 years. 2032 plus 14. 2046. Guys, you'll be in retirement. This is my theory. This is what this guy is looking to do. Guess who used this tactic? And it worked.
Putin.
Putin.
Vladimir Putin.
I remember that.
Yes. He used this tactic and it worked like a
Like
gem.
a charm.
Yes. And now
that
he's almost-
Medvedev guy.
Dmitry Medvedev.
That be Dmitry guy.
Yeah, he
Came
was a
in-
placeholder.
Do we
There's a
even
place-
remember how he even came in?
No, please. Who
No,
remembers him?
No, nobody remembers
I don't
him now.
even remember.
No,
him.
Yeah.
I
very
remember-
many people
I remember
don't.
the guys before him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Kina Brezhnev and all those guys. But I don't remember this.
that is it.
I remember the
Gorbachev.
Medvedev name, but
Don't know Gorbachev,
Gorbachev,
whatever,
yeah,
but
yeah.
you just know Putin, and that's it. Then you're like, but wait, there was a Medvedev guy. Like, oh really? Oh snap!
yeah, so that was the political interlude. That is my theory.
we are tired.
I mean, I could be wrong, but there's one possible saving grace that could happen, because right now all these third candidates they're still not seriousness. We are close to 2 years to 2027 and we are still not seeing any proper formation. The only person who has expressed interest, and I don't know how far it's gone, is Okia. Now
Huyo hana jina.
now wait, what Okia should do, he should not play to win, but he should play for a second
To
round.
make a statement.
No, to get a second round.
I get what you're saying.
That
yes.
is
so,
very
yes,
possible.
So that
Because
they-
think about
yeah,
it.
he breaks up the numbers.
If
Yes, he breaks up the
if
numbers,
on
yeah.
one side,
Mm.
if on one side, Baba is a candidate, and then on this other side, because
Wamunyoro.
on this other side, tuseme, let's say Kalonzo.
Ele zaidi ingine wanaeka Wamunyoro. si
No,
Kalonzo.
hapana, Wamunyoro is not gonna run. He's been
No.
impeached. So they have to put someone. So they have to put some to come Kalonzo, and then with a running mate from Murima. And this could potentially be, it could be a Martha Karua. It could be anyone from Murima who they potentially feel will bring in the Murima votes. And on this other side, kutakuwa na Baba, and then they will have a running mate who can bring votes. It could be anyone. It could be Ali Hassan Joho. It could be anyone. Because Kasongo is not going to be the running mate. So now once you have these two formations, if let's say Baba wins with Joho as a running mate, and then Ruto as a prime minister, on this other side, you have Kalonzo and Karua as the leaders of the official opposition, because now that position has been officially officialized. But now, if there is to be a second round, they will have to negotiate with Okia.
50 plus 1 is what you're saying, basically.
Yeah, so block the 50 plus 1. And now, if Okia has those votes, ya kufanya mtu ashinde now in round 2, both sides have to go and negotiate with him. So whoever negotiates with Okia will have to give him a seat as a prime minister. So you'll have maybe President Raila Odinga and a prime minister Okia. And the good thing of having a prime minister Okia is that now you have, like a watchman within in power. So to me, I think that's a dream scenario. It's a best case scenario. It will have put Kasongo out, but then it will also, the downside, it will also give him time to strategize. You see what happened in the US? When Trump was put out, guess what they did? They went and they
Drawing
planned.
board. Drawing board.
Project 2025.
Yes. So Kasongo will come back with a project 2032. And these are the possibilities.
I don't think OneMic likes that. You see how his eyes have gotten big?
No, but those are the possibilities
it's a
of what's going to happen.
possibility.
Those are the
You can't
possibilities.
carry-
Utafanya OneMic
Yeah.
aanze kuvaa miwani.
And
Hebu
then-
mtolee zile
And then now you
miwani
see,
zako.
now Kalonzo
Zakarani.
will be the official leader of the opposition.
Turudi kwa maneno ya mpira ni tani.
Aya, sawa.
Huyo amechoka, huyo
Yeah.
amechoka, huyo
Eh,
amechoshwa,
That
huyo
was
Mika amechoshwa.
that was a politics interlude. Leo kulikuwa hakuna siasa, but that
Hii
was
siasa inaumesha kichwa.
Mika is ready to remove a AK-47.
lakini hiyo math mbona vile imemath Mika.
But
Nimeiona
but
na
let me
sijailike.
let me
Eh? Lakini umeona
Mimi nime-
possibility.
cause
No, hiyo math unajua, hiyo math kuhappen ni rahisi sana.
Yes.
Kwa sababu unajua kitu moja pia watu wanafaa kurealize, unajua ni nini? Base haijachange, voters base haijachange.
Correct.
Haijachange sana.
Haijachange sana.
Imechange
Bado
kidogo
watu-
si
bado-
sana.
Yeah,
But-
haijachange sana. Yeah, bado watu wako na kura ni wale wa mama wale walikuwa na mshwa asubuhi na mahindi na 50 bob. Hao ndo bado wana kura mingi. Wale wa bodaboda wa nini au bado wana kura mingi sana. Unaona?
Mika,
So
you
like,
don't think
now-
our majenzi wata make change? They will
so
bring a change
majenzi,
to the
shida ya
to the vote?
majenzi ni hii.
Yeah,
Shida ya majenzi ni hawako kwa voters registry.
Mpaka wa register ya until
Unaona,
the registry is
hawako-
open.
hawako-
Sahi
voters
they are
registry.
being told to go for that. Kuna hiyo mobile.
Sasa
washafunguliwa.
wameambiwa wakachukua ID, which
Yes.
is another way of pia wale wengine pia wakifungua ID wanapika manamba zao za ID huko, unaona?
Correct.
Yes, wameambiwa wakachukua ID, waende wachukue
Correct.
ID, which is right, wachukue ID. Waende wachukue voters card, which is right, wachukue voters card.
Yes.
Now,
Fighting these people at the battle, at
The ballot.
the ballot is not going to be easy. Unaona?
Correct. Yeah.
Kwa sababu watu watapika ballot. Kitu
Yeah.
watu wanafaa kufanya ni waingie kwa hizo mapati wa bunge. Alafu unajua kitu moja nini? Vijana ndio ulala na kura. Si wazee, ni vijana ndio ulala na kura,
That's true.
right?
That is true. Yeah.
So juu
You're
vijana
right.
ndio ulala na kura.
You're right.
After kura umepigwa ndo kwa agents kwa polling station na nini wako hapo kile kitu. Wakishaingia kwa hizi mapati wakivuruga, watalala na kura siku ya party elections na watalala na kura siku ya the main vote. And that way they can ensure that they can make a change on who they want to
To bring
rule
in.
them.
Yes.
You know the thing is
It's not something that wanataka kusema tu wafanye
Ah.
ni siku moja. It has to be a continuous work.
Yes.
but I remember when I was away doing some other handling some business, and I remember Mika's point about infiltration. I think that is the best scenario outcome.
infiltrate kama nyuki.
I am telling you,
like
una infiltrate
like an attacking
like
swarm.
an nonsense. Like now, all guys decide we are going to join ODM. Hypothetically speaking, everyone registers, and then mukienda huko munavuruga
Mnavuruga
Sasa
mpaka
nyinyi
men in
ndio
black.
So, mnakuwa Men in
basi
Black.
Mika
Yeah.
hiyo kitu ikishika
Men-
nari,
ngoja kwambie,
wewe
Men in Black-
wewe ndio
ora-
utakuwa grandfather wa hiyo
Men in Black
kitu.
kwa watu Omosh.
Yes.
Men in Black kwa mtu kama mbao.
Ni watu wachache
Wanakuja na
sana.
fujo mingi tu.
And then they are coordinated.
Mkiwasimamia, watatoka mbio.
No, but what I'm saying is, Sasa, now when you infiltrate, you will be the Men in Black. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
You
sasa
turn the
ndio-
tables.
yeah,
Yes.
Ngoja nikwambie, unajua siku ya nini? Ile siku ya Moi, tukichuja Moi.
Mm.
Yes.
Walikuwa na beg nini, vijana laleni na kura. Nakwambia hiyo siku mpaka tulikuwa tunahesabu hiyo. So nilikuwa sijui 18. Nilikuwa na excitement, I'm gonna make a difference in the country. Nimepiga kura, like nilienda kwa voting station nikavote na sikutoka.
Sasa comments hapa zilikuwa zinakuja. Before now we transition to conversation ya Harambee Stars because we are seeing a new look Harambee Stars. Steven JJ anasema hivyo ndio nilisema Ali nikaambiwa niko Maglen. Yakobo anasema Ali amekula.
Ati Maglen.
Yeah.
Nani amesema hivyo?
Sema hivyo lakini
Nani alisema hivyo?
Ati Yakobo.
Yeah,
Niko
sasa
Maglen.
no, Yakobo anasema
No, he said that,
mimi ndo
he said
nilimwambia
that.
yeah, Yakobo anasema Ali amekula. I think he meant Ali amekula oath. Haiwezi, Kenyans are done with Raila. Well, we'll find out. We'll find out if Kenyans are done with Raila. And then Slay anasema tema hiyo mate Ali. Steven JJ, Kenya hakuna opposition. And then Yakobo anasema Okia is a lightweight. Slay anauliza why is the camera not showing him? Showing who? Be specific. And then Yakobo hapa anasema
maybe Micah.
Okia
mi niko hapo nimesmile.
yeah. Yakobo anasema Okia Wangige. Who is Wangige? I think Yakobo meant but ameandika Wangige. Who is Wangige?
I think that's what they meant.
All small weights who will be bought to spoil votes or be swallowed into bigger teams. And then Washeke anauliza kwa nini kamera ionyeshi Micah. And then Slay anauliza tunasikia sauti ya Uno na tumuoni. Yeye ndo ana control cameras.
Yeye ndio akona nini?
Yeye ndo akona
ile fimbo ya nyayo. So sahi mkiongea hata anaweza chuja hizo vitu zenyu. So muende
pole moja amesikia ni mtu mwingine amerukia hiyo noma.
Okay. Haya, sawa. Sasa
noma gani surely?
Sasa Micah tuambie there was a very interesting game midweek between Okay, Micah.
What aliye introduce? Nataka introduce.
Ndo nasema there was an interesting game midweek between Harambee Stars and Gambia.
The
Gambia. And it ended up in a draw. But the way Kenyans were talking about it, ungefikiria Kenya walishinda. But
before that.
Yeah.
Micah, Ebu, I wanted to pause.
Sports and more sports in the OneMic show.
Ndio hiyo
hapo. Unajua nimeka karibu 1 year sijasikia.
Yeah. Well, sasa okay.
Anyway, so let's start. Okay, so Azalia amesema hapa sahi. Harambee Stars came from 2 goals down to draw with Gambia at the Alassane Ouattara Stadium in Abidjan on Thursday night. The game which went into halftime, the two teams tied at 0-0 after Stars keeper Ian Otieno saved a penalty to ensure their scores remained 0-0, and Stars captain Michael Olunga missed an open chance and also missed a penalty. We went into halftime 1-1. However, the second half, Gambia drew first blood with Saudi Pro League forward Musa Barrow in the 56th minute before Gambia doubled the lead through Brighton's winger Yakuba Mint in the 65th minute. And the game actually didn't look like it was going to be all gloom and doom kama kawaida. Harambee wanafungwa, but Harambee St. Mirren midfielder Joan Ayunga was fouled in the penalty box, winning a Kenyan penalty, and Olunga slotted that penalty calmly to make the game 2-1 in the 69th minute. Stars kept pushing on and 6 minutes later, Omar Bajaber scored a spectacular goal, which was the equalizer to get the game 2-2. But unfortunately, as Spurs were still pushing, Gambia struck again in the 4th minute through Barrow to restore the lead in 2-1. And then the goal did not kill the spirit of the game. The team continued fighting on. And midfielder Leson Lenkapau, on his debut, scored in the dying minutes, in the 96th minutes, to level the match at 3-3. The result means that Kenya still remained the 4th of the group, giving McCarthy's first draw as the head coach for the team. Now, one thing Adi has been saying is that it's a new look Harambee Stars, and I wouldn't call it new look. I will call it. I would call it. It has a few dividends. What McCarthy has done is McCarthy has followed Kenyan players who have roots outside the country, and akajaribu kuwatafuta, and that is why we saw the boy who scored Wilson, who scored the equalizing goal, for the final equalizing goal on his debut from Australia. He was born in Australia, played all his games in Australia, and he was called up. This is his first time playing for the team. McCarthy went for experience, and he called back a lot of foreign-based players. He only had 5 local-based players in the team, and in those 5 local-based players is where we see players like Bajaber, the goalkeeper Ian, so Faruk Shikalo, Ronnie Onyango, Manzuro Kwaro, Ben Stanley Omondi, and Mohamed Bajaber. Those are the only 5 local players that he picked. after having a training camp of more than 49 local players. And we saw that he dropped quite a number of local players from the teams, especially um, current KPL Player of the Year, Austin Odhiambo, who plays for OmoshFaya, and then Sylvester Awino, Alfonso Mijo, Lawrence Juma, and Alfo Onyango, who also play for Gor, but dropped. So he dropped a lot of local players, and he went for an experienced team that had a lot of final international players like Kian Otieno, Brian Bwire, Brian Mandela, Daniel Anyembe, Amos Nondi, Eric Ouma, Ronnie Onyango, Antonio Kumu, Richard Odada, Ismail Gonzalez, Eric Johanna, Duke Abuya, Masood Juma, Jonah Ayunga, Elvis Kupia, Jonah Avire, and Michael Olunga. So all these players have been in the Harambee Stars setup in some form of in some way or form, but we've seen his mixed talent, young talent, Kina Bajaber, and a lot of experienced heads from the team. It's a balanced team for a first-time squad, and with his experience, and I know with his vast scouting network, somebody who's worked at a club that has a vast scouting network has that. He has connections that he can talk to other people who can help him identify players. I'm seeing a forward look to Kenya. Ile story ya Ujeri. Unajua ile Ujeri na Kariobangi youth imetoka kwa national team. Because manzi ulikuwa kama uishi kama wewe si mtu wa Jeri ucheze Harambee.
Yes. You know, kulikuwa na hiyo problem sana kwa national team whereby kulikuwa na hii mambo ya kujuana. Yani you had to be in good books with certain people where even sometimes hata FKF officials will intervene wakitaka mchezaji fulani, you know, like acheze. And I'm glad, you know, what I like about McCarthy, I was a bit 50-50 about him, but just having listened to him, he's someone who's very excited at this job. And the fact that he's from another African country, South Africa, so he has an understanding of some of the challenges players are experiencing.
Easy pinky ponky.
Yes, and then Amekuja, he's not in any of this. He's not inside any of these corruption networks. He's not in there. He doesn't know them.
Yeah.
And he's here. He's here to win.
Yeah, to do his job.
He's here to make a point.
Yes.
You know, he's very ambitious because his goal is World Cup 2026. On one side, you can say that it's going to be 48 teams. So this is going to be an easier path than previous ones. I'm not saying easy, but it's just going to be slightly easier.
Yes.
Because I think Africa may have 7 or 8 slots. I'm not sure how many slots exactly Africa will be given for the World Cup, because I think there will be an extra slot that will go into some kind of playoff.
Yeah.
But then Ali,
Kunywa maji bro. Kunywa maji.
Okay, sawa. Nilikuwa nimeenda 0 to 100. Haya Micah.
Mock 1.
one thing you also have to give kudos to is the new FKF officials who are elected. President Hussein Mohammed, Vice President McDonald Mariga, Patrick Korir, and General Secretary Patrick Korir. For the first time, we actually have people who are football people.
Nice.
And I believe that Hussein Mohammed, was a good choice. Doesn't have any political ambitions. Nimse napenda tu ball. Mariga the same way. Korir the same way. So for me, I'm very happy. And you see, even for the appointment of McCarthy, for them to actually go down and start looking for a coach, they didn't just run for the nearest white man that they could find out there like other people used to look for. They went to look for a coach who they knew has gone through badges, has trained into. McCarthy has a good coaching experience. If you look at his coaching CV, and he's not somebody who just takes a job. If you've listened to him how he talks, he says he doesn't just take a job to take for a job. He takes a job whereby he sees there's a chance of building something out of that job. So me, I'm more like, and he himself said, you see, this is a coach who actually benched the best player in the current Premier League in Kenya and said, no, let me just go for, because he knew what he wants in the team. This is a coach who knows what he wants in the team. Him putting players like Bajaber has been on the peripheries of national team. I mean, the national team is matona za Chan, is matona, but ajacheza World Cup qualifier ama African Cups qualifier, African qualifier. But so he's been on the peripherals of the national team. He's good. He went to trials in for FC Midtjylland. He's
Denmark.
a good player. He's a very, very good player. So uni mse like aliangalia kuna unajua nini skills za mse, the way he plays for police, the way police signed him in January, amwainua to a point whereby you can see police are challenging. So he knew that this is a player who if I add him next to Olunga badala kwa kama striker wawili na malaini wawili waanza kugongana, if I play him behind Olunga nikianza kumbleed kwa team pole pole, it's fixing the team. So he's a coach who knows what he wants. Is this his final team? I don't think so. He's going to bring back some of the players who he dropped, but that shows that this is a coach who's willing to not just go for inform, but actually look for a winning setup for the team and then build around that.
Now let me say something. Let me read something from Muzi. Muzi, for those of you who do not know Muzi, Muzi is Jabali Africa, fan of the show, a regular, and a guy who supports the show a lot. So Muzi at one point in time was in hidden circles, Omosh we can attest to this, how they were like really trying to get Hussein and Mariga elected. Like, so they were going through, they were campaigning a lot. You know, and Muzi ni mse upenda ball sana. And kwanza local, anything that is local music, local, anything arts and creative. He's a supporter of local creatives in Kenya. So after the performance of Harambee Stars, he put up a post. He says, you know what? The new face of Kenya football, Mathare United, showed us the way back. You are just catching up now. Mpira si ya Wajaluo na Waluya. Have traveled the country with my brother Abdul MK, who I think is doing tournaments, and the talent we come across is out of this world. What we saw yesterday in Abidjan is a true testament of the growth of the game beyond the traditional regions that we are accustomed to. Same way we are seeing other tribes conquer athletics other than the usual football. Other than the usual football has come of age. Let's go Kenya, let's go Harambee Stars. Sunday we are back at it with Gabon. And I remember having this, we used to have this discussion with you, Ali, where we were talking about, you remember, if you remember those games that we used to have, it was Kerea local, before we went to district. What were they?
Oh, like
school games.
Yeah, school games.
Yes. But, and you used to ask,
yeah,
are you trying to tell us that there are not talented soccer players uko Eastern, correct, Northeastern or whatever? Wargadud. Yeah. Like, that's what are you trying to tell us? And what we are seeing, like, you know, I think you would, what was the guy who scored that? The
Mohamed Bajaber.
Jaber. Get used to this
name. Not
Jaber,
Bajaber.
That one.
Yeah.
Like, I get used to this name. I'm like, who's this guy?
But
so, no, Micah, before you finish, hold on. So when Micah was also actually reading out the roster,
yeah,
I'm like, who are these guys? Because all people know are Olunga and maybe the goalkeeper.
Olunga has been playing.
No, but then Uno. That's what I'm saying. When was the last time you watched an Harambee Stars game? Last time it was 1 year.
Oh no.
The team Simpia.
So Mika is right. The team is not totally new.
Right.
But when I said new look, McCarthy was willing to experiment, and I think he was also passing a message that just because you think you're the best doesn't mean I cannot drop you. I think he was also trying to pass a message.
But wacha niambie kitu moja, mmesahau kitu moja na hii team ni 100% Nairobi.
Well,
so the thing is this. when it comes to football in Kenya, right? There is talent in football in Kenya, the whole country. As somebody who
Correct.
played Coca-Cola under 17 na mtu mwenye alichezea high school football, naweza kuambia kuna talent country mzima, kila mahali. The thing is, when it comes to football in Kenya, for you to advance, most of the time inakwanga in equivalent to how your pocket is, ama unajua nani. Unaona? So if your pocket is, kama mzazi wako anabia kukubaia boots, kukupeleka games, kufanya nini, utagrow. Kama mzazi wako ama bro wako ama sister wako anajua mtu mwenye anakujua ama mmetoka mtaa fulani na coach fulani na huyo coach ako na influence, utagrow. Unaona? Hiyo ndio kitu inaua boli ya Kenya. Ukianza kuweka boli ya ukabila, atisiji si Mjaluo, si Mluya, si Mswako, si wa nini, hatuendelea mahali na boli.
No,
but you see,
I
no,
think
hatuendelea mahali na boli kwa sababu gani? Unajua mbona kwa sababu gani?
Yes.
Kwa sababu mimi nikicheza na show na Mombasa High, team ilikuwa mixed. Ilikuwa na Waswahili wawili. Unaona? Haikuwa timu ya Waswahili.
Now
nikicheza Kakamega High School, nilikuwa na timu ina Mwalalo wawili, ina Wasapero wawili, ina Wajake, ina Makamba, ina Waluya watatu. Like haikuwa team sijui ni Waluya alone.
Now I think going back to what Muzi was saying, and what has been there in Kenyan football for a while, like hivyo vile Micah amesema, is that lazima uwe na networks, and then of course all these players come to Nairobi. So kama umepitia through your provincials, nationals, and you've been spotted by a club, you will be picked up by a club from hizo inter-secondary school games.
Yes.
Now, one unique thing that Kenya is blessed with that we've not taken fully advantage of is that ball is one of the few games where
inachezwa country mzima,
and where inachezwa country mzima, na number 2 pia physical attributes are not, they might help, but they're not the key. Unaona kama vile bake, if you're tall you have an advantage.
Yes.
Rugby, if you're stronger, you automatically have an advantage. Yes. But now soccer is one of those, and that's why I think soccer is the most beloved game.
Ball inataka tu athleticism.
Unaweza kuwa mfupi na bado we ni mnoma, unaweza kuwa mrefu na bado we ni mnoma. You could be skinny, you could be a strong guy.
Exactly.
But now you see, the thing is, with all these different features we have in Kenya, the different regions of Kenya present very different skill sets. Which I think McCarthy is still fresh, which I think McCarthy should try to take advantage of. Unaona, for example, like Watu Coast, we are not known for our strength. You know, we are not known for our strength. So while playing ball, you cannot, try to enhance skills that have to do with strength. So kuna skills ingine people develop faster there, because hata ukienda kwa hizi matournament, ukienda kama hizi matournament Fort Jesus na nini, like you'll see a distinct difference than if you go to a tournament in a place like Western. You'll see a certain distinct difference in how the game is being played, because the players do not have that muscular physical strength. There's certain skills that you'll find people developing more from a very early age. So now when we mix these skills pamoja na hiyo skill tuko nayo that also has to do with strength, speed, and endurance and athleticism, when it's combined well, it can create like a very lethal team.
It's just like the Brazilians.
So ngoja niseme kitu moja.
Yeah.
Hapa, right? Unajua difference ya player wa EPL na player wa MLS?
MLS mi unajua hata MLS siangalii sana. So
No, nakwambia ama wacha kwambia difference wa player anacheza EPL, right? Na difference wa player anacheza no, hiyo Bundesliga pia na
Spanish league.
Spanish pia ni high class league.
Yeah.
But difference ya utatumia Spanish na EPL.
Yeah.
Right? Unajua unaweza toa player Osasuna umlete Arsenal ashinde kuperform.
Ni kweli, yeah.
Right? But unaweza toa player Burnley umpeleke Osasuna na perform vinoma sana. Unajua difference kwa nini?
Ni nini?
Level of athleticism. Na hiyo uko to a very small percentage of people. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter umetoka wapi. What it matters is what society. Hiyo ndo make difference between a pro player, a semi-pro, na amateur. That is why kuna maplayers uko wa normal high school but anashindwa ku make it college. Na kitoka college anashindwa ku make it pro. Difference uko the level of athleticism. Na ile Skoluma alikuwa kwa show akatuambia difference ya mtu mwenye go through draft na mtu go through academy.
Yeah.
Mtu wa academy ana train more.
Yeah.
So in a year yuko 3 years ahead athletic than kushinda mtu mwingine. Unaona hiyo ndio kwa difference ya nini.
Yeah.
So shida ya Kenya kubwa. And that is why inarudi bado kwa kama uko na resources utatoboa. Shida ya Kenya kubwa ni minimum normal ball, lakini bado lazima nikasakanye demi yangu ako na mtoi wangu na niko na miaka 21, lazima nikasakanye, sitoki kwa familia wa dosi na bado nataka kudu. So unacheza ball kama by the way.
Ni kweli hiyo hapo.
Nikitoka hapo naenda base na kula veve navuta fegi na I'm not that so minimum normal ball nina talent but sina athleticism. Omosh on the other hand, Omosh akupoa kila kitu yake, Omosh piga zoezi. Unaona sasa kocha akikam anike kwa team, mimi nalegeza team. Omosh akiingizwe might not be as talented as me
but is a workhorse.
Ile job anafanya anasaidia team.
Yes.
So shida ya Kenya kubwa haikuangi, nakwambia mimi kwambia country mzima tu na talent ya ball. Shida ni after hiyo talent ya ball, ukishajua kucheza ball pale mtaani, ukishajua kucheza tournament mtaani, what do you make yourself to be better than that?
Sasa kina Hussein Mohamed na Mariga are they starting to address this issue? Because hiyo umesema is a very existential issue na tunajua ni kitu iko. Because nimeona players wengi hivyo hivyo akigive up akisema mimi naenda kucheza ball and I have to fend for my family. How are they trying to address that issue?
First things first, lazima wa revive Harambee. Wa revive pia league. Now I make a way whereby we have a very strong inter-schools competitions in the country, which is why we continue producing talent for all the various sports that we have in the country. So we have to figure out a way how to incorporate the school system with the clubs, like a format of a way of an academy work between the clubs and the schools.
And the schools, okay.
Yeah. And then so kuna continuity for the players.
Wow.
So utapata kuna player mkali anacheza game akimaliza. Mimi nakwambia Western kucheza zonals na divisions tulikuwa tunacheza na timu kali kushinda timu tulikuwa tunaenda kuchapa nasho.
But sasa hiyo
kulikuwa na Waluya wanagusa ball huko chini mzee kutupu kwanza hata Jabba.
But sasa our players wa mgutupu huko who would not make it to nashos sasa hawatakuwa discovered. Yes, and I think hiyo hapo ni that's a challenge Hussein Mohamed na Mariga have to solve, because I think once to solve your problem, Kenya, like talent ya ball iko, I think will shock the rest of the continent. Wakiweza kusolve your problem will completely shock the rest of the continent. Watashangaa Kenya they are now everywhere. They are running, they are playing rugby, and now they are also beating us in soccer. Hii kitu yani si unaona kama TZ have tried to start paying their players well. We unaona hata foreign players wanakuja.
Wacha kwambie TZ wako na ligi moja organized, one of the best leagues in Africa.
Yes.
In terms of organization, alafu hata fanwet mafano TZ by the way wanapenda timu zao hata kushinda kuna timu za Premier League.
Wanapenda timu zao mbaya sana. Wewe uone Bandio kila siku anakuja hapa na hiyo shati yake Kagera Sugar. Yeah. You know, wao wanapenda timu zao. Now, this Sunday, as we wrap up this conversation, tukienda kwa hiyo game ya Gambia itakuwa Nyayo Stadium. This is the new look, the revamped Nyayo Stadium. I think this is a moment that can be captured.
Tunacheza na nini?
Sunday
tunacheza na Gambia tena.
Ni nani tunacheza na wao Sunday?
Sunday tunacheza na tuko group moja na timu gani nyingine?
Tuko na Ivory Coast, tuko na Burundi, tuko
Gabon.
Tunacheza na Gabon Sunday.
Tunacheza na Gabon Sunday. Okay, so hiyo game ya Gabon, I think this can be a turning point ya Kenyan fandom in soccer, because for some reason hiyo game, in as much as it was a regular mundane game, it has captured people's attention. So while you have the attention,
sales za tickets after game ya jana,
ndo nasema hiyo attention iko, tunajua study itaja, but how do you hold that attention to beyond that game? It will help kama Kenya watawin.
Ali, let me ask you something.
Yes.
When was the time were you a proud Harambee Stars supporter? Who was the coach?
Ilikuwa ni time ya Fabish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Leo ni swali nikiuliza kila Mkenya age group yetu ama older than us watasema hiyo time. Kwa sababu gani? Fabish alikuja na idea za development za nini, akachagua team different nini, akaweka ni mlona.
Yeah.
The same thing Ben is doing right now. Right? And that thing actually after Fabish ilifanya, nakumbuka Fabish alikamkani kwa high school form 1. Na nakumbuka after hiyo ilifanya mpaka nikaanza kufollow ligi ya Kenya. Watu walikuwa nilikuwa nacheza ball, nilikuwa napenda ball. Nilikuwa na ligi za Europe nini, mimi ni fan wa FC kuanzia kama mimi ni mtoi, nilikuwa najua tu FC, but after hiyo nikaanza kufuatilia Premier League ya Kenya, like, and ukiangalia yote mwenye Fabish alikuwa Kenya na uangalia na Premier League ya Kenya, hiyo time I think FC ndio ilikuwa timu ya kwanza kucheza kuleta kina Kanalelo, walikuwa timu ya kwanza kuleta mapro Kenya. Like ligi ilikuwa kali between
ligi ilikuwa noma ya
na Gor, yeah. Ligi like baka tukaanza kufuatilia ligi ilikuwa kali, so it's the same thing. Harambee kiperform ikicheza fiti,
ina motivate. Yes.
Yeah.
So
watu wataanza kwenda ligi.
Yeah. Na watu wataka kwenda kuwatch our players
yeah.
Hizi team I think Bajaber anachezea sijui ni Police.
Unafikiria game ya Police itajaje next time?
Yeah, game ya Police itaja. In fact Bajaber,
game ya Police inaenda kuja hivi, kila mtu anakuwa Bajaber.
Me by the way ningekuwa namjua Bajaber, ningemwambia sasa tafuta ka brand manager hivi. Tafuta ka brand, because your brand yake sasa ita grow, but now he has to keep up that performance.
Lakini ule boy ni mzuri. Hiyo bao vile ilifungwa. What are bao? Ingia Facebook. Enda Facebook utafute page ya Police. Alafu watch game zao na highlights. Uone huyo boy vile anacheza. Alafu kimalizo uende page ya Nairobi Stars.
Yes.
Pale alikuwa.
Yeah.
Uangalia ile zake. Yule boy ni mtamu, anajua ball.
So maze, hii moment ikiwa captured and some proper marketing is done, I'm sure kina Hussein Mohamed na Mariga are working on that. Get people excited about the local league, and I'm telling you, ball overnight ita change. Utaona Nyayo itaendelea, itarudi, itaanza kuja. Unaona hata in fact this game I feel like Nyayo now is a smaller stadium. Hii hata ingejaza, labda hata ingejaza hata kama ingeenda Kasarani. Labda hata ingejaza huko Kasarani, but we like that momentum and we hope this will continue, and by that small chance tukiweza kuqualify kwa World Cup, because we're in the same group as Ivory Coast, so not a very easy group, but I think there are people outside the group winners who might qualify, because I think groups ziko sijui kama ni 6 ama sijui kama ni ngapi, so I think there's still an outside chance that Kenya can qualify if we do the right things, Micah, and then
Ibo kwa rahisi tu. Shindeni game zenu and let everybody else worry about themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. Just win all your games. Na sasa mko na hiyo support.
The support is there, and I think most guys are eager, especially after that performance.
Yes.
Because remember, the team may be the same. No argument over there. But not many people know that that's the same team.
Because people
Most
have
of the
not
fans,
even been following.
They have not been following.
Yeah, people have not been following.
Guys will follow the rugby team, Shujaa. But Harambee Stars at one point, people just know Michael Olunga. But people just know Olunga. And then everybody else is whatever. Harambee. Then they just know the coach is from Sijui. What was that country?
Turkey.
No, the other one.
Miret alikuwa Turkey ama alikuwa anataka
No, kulikuwa na mwingine. The last one,
Pirates alikuwa ni wataki,
okay.
yeah.
So, like, you see?
Yeah.
But now, you can sing performance, you're seeing people, you're seeing a new look. And when I say a new look, people are seeing people who are different.
Yeah.
On the team.
Not even just the people, even the style of play.
Yeah.
Yani kama uliwatch your game.
Yes. I was watching it, I was like, oh my God.
There's certain things that you're seeing that you would typically not...
Like...
not see. So McCarthy...
Like, is this Harambee Stars?
McCarthy, yeah. So McCarthy, there's something that he gets about the Kenyan game. So I think he just didn't show up. Because nilikuwa naona Beni McCarthy, huyu ameshow up too. But I think he's also taken some time to study the Kenyan game.
And as much as I'm an optimist, I am an optimist. However, because of my programming with the failure of KFF or whatever, the soccer league or whatever, I'm like, let me enjoy this small window, because I know at some point there's gonna be a brouhaha, something is gonna happen, external forces are gonna come in and do some shit, and then next thing you know, we're not even back to square one. Tumerudi uko negative.
Alafu tukiqualify World Cup, guess nani ataingia hapo take credit? Baba na Kasongo. Mika hebu tuongee juu ya rugby before turudi kwa siasa.
Sure. Yani Mika umeona vile ameingia hapo?
It will happen. Hiyo hawezi kosa. Iki nini?
Yani ameingia
ikiiva. Mazee
Ali ameingia na zile ni shakers.
Hiyo ndo campaign ya
percussion instrument
ya 2027. But anyway, Mika, before tuanze kuongea story ya pesa hapa, rugby, we've neglected rugby for a while, and tunajua LA7s is coming up for the first time. I think we may witness a situation where we're seeing both the Kenyan men's team and the women's team. I don't think, I don't know about other legs, but this will be a first for people in the US. And I think even the Kenyan rugby team coming to the US. By the way, is it a shoo-in that the Lionesses watakuja qualifying tournament because they won 2 tournaments in a row? Ama bado kuna tournament ingine?
You know, the thing is, I actually don't know the women's path through, but I think there might be another tournament. But they played 2 back-to-back tournaments.
And they won.
They're unbeaten.
Yeah.
What they won, they're unbeaten.
Unbeaten, yeah.
They're unbeaten, those 2 tournaments. So in the women's standings right now, they lead with 40 points. South Africa have 34, Argentina 30, Colombia 30, Thailand 20, Czech Republic 22, Poland 16. So the fact that it's still that, I think there's going to be another tournament. But as you say, there is a high possibility whereby we might see both of them in the tournament. But then another possibility is that we might have a possibility whereby the men's team might be relegated and the
Oof.
women's team play in the main circuit.
Where now that will be interesting. That will be very, very interesting because the men, depending on how they play, where's
The
the
men
next
will
leg?
have to. The men will have to go play for a qualifying tournament again.
They'll have to play qualifying. Now qualifying sitakuwa iko LA. It's like the one that was in Spain.
In Spain, yeah.
So this time
So they'll
itakuwa
have-
iko LA. So the men
Yeah.
might be playing qualifying, and the women also qualifying. So
Yes, the women will play qualifying. They'll play qualifying. So that's regardless of hata hiyo kama kuna tona ingine
yeah,
pale tuko tutacheza tushaingia.
yeah, because I think ni top 4 teams ndo
Ni
zinaingia
top 3.
ni top 3 ndo zinaingia
Yes.
qualifying, and then I think wanacheza a big tournament, and then whoever wins either gets relegated or stays, or gets promoted and goes back to challenge, just like last year in Spain. So this will be an interesting LA7s. I would tell people, start getting your tickets, start booking your hotels. This time, by the way, we will have actual work to do in the stadium because tutakuwa na game ya men and women. And I really love that the women are going to benefit from the big crowd being there, because I think this will be their first big crowd while playing abroad, because wow, they don't get the benefit of getting, and you, I think, will fuel them vibaya sana. So I'm foreseeing a situation where our rugby women's team will be promoted, and that will be very nice.
Yeah, they need to win in the next one is in Poland, April 11th to 12th.
Mm-hmm.
And if they win there, then from like the 4 teams, the highest cumulative points from the 3 rounds will earn a spot in the 7th playoff in LA on May 3rd to 4th. Because you remember they're in the Challenger Cup. Right?
Yeah.
So it's the people who are at the tops then go into the playoff.
And if you finish top, you get a
So
more
yeah,
friendly
so the
pool.
top 4, the
Mm.
top 4 and the bottom 4.
And the
will go
bottom
into
4,
playoffs.
yes.
Yes.
And then only 4 teams will qualify. So kwa hiyo playoff, they play in an 8-team tournament, na wale wanafika semi-finals.
And then you remember that playoff,
Mm.
day 1 doesn't matter. Ni day 2.
Yes, because that's
Yes.
how Kenya was able to qualify when they showed up on day 2. So I really hope the Kenya men's team survives, because wakikula relegation, it's very difficult. In fact, after that feat that they pulled where they got relegated and they were able to come up within a season is very, very difficult.
Very unprecedented. Tonga will stay. How long did Tonga stay?
There are teams that have been languishing huko
By the way,
for a
did
while.
Tonga make it back?
No, I don't think Tonga has made it back. Huko there are teams that have been languishing for years. Na alafu huko sasa all people are very hungry. Your challenger, the players are very hungry. Everybody
Correct.
wants to come and play.
Yes.
And then there are very good teams huko, like Germany, that are playing huko challenger. So yeah, because the time when they reduced the main cup from 16 teams to 12 teams, then things became very thick. It became very, very difficult to stay in the main tournament. But hopefully, the men's team, stays, and the women's team gets promoted. And then Kasongo will take credit.
And that is going to happen. Watch.
Okay. Aya, sawa. Wacha tuingie history ya Chapa, because the topic about money is very interesting.
It's kind of sensitive.
When it comes to Kenyans. Because there's 2 schools of thought. There's a school of thought where money conversations are avoided, tukule tu leo, let's just enjoy what we have today and figure out what's going to come tomorrow. And then, kuna ujuaji pia, where people are getting involved in get-rich-quick schemes. Mtu atakwambia, kuna deal hapa, kuna mpango. If you get into this, anywhere within a year, you've tripled your money.
Buroti, magota.
That's why schemes kama ile ya Quail, they tend to become very popular in Kenya.
Quail eggs.
Ingilia hii biashara ya Quail, wewe umeomoka. And you'd find even very smart people, like falling for that and getting into it. And then you see the other thing is that in Kenya, I've also noticed people will speak in generalities. Like mtu atakwambia biashara ya matatu iko na pesa sana. But now when you want to get to the details of it, you start using acronyms like ROI. Then mtu anakwambia we wacha hizo hapo. You have to get in to know. You have to get in to understand. So there's that. People will watakuchocha sana. Ati if you buy hii ploti sijui sehemu gani, within a year hiyo kitu ime triple value.
And you know what's interesting is that plotty maybe it's being compared with something else in another area that may have certain returns. And you see, so the speak is going to be the generality of if you buy in and you buy a plot, you're going to make money. Now somebody doesn't break down certain things to you. Because unajua saa zingine kuna wasee wako na ploti na si ploti walinunua. Wali inherit. Yeah. Which means ROI yao at that point ni zero.
Yeah.
Right?
No ROI, like they don't have
no, what I'm saying when I say the investment in
is zero.
Yeah. They are already ahead of the game.
Yes.
So sasa jamaa anasema, let me build my ile nyumba waga inaitwa ile nyumba ya gorofa alafu chini kuna maduka. You understand what I'm saying? Na najenga hiyo. Si ndio? Then rent inaanza kudonjo. Now remember, if alichukua loan, assuming alichukua loan ama alipata kado, these things may come back faster for him than mtu alienda kanunua plot.
Akanunua cash.
Then akaanza kujenga.
From scratch, yeah.
So there are certain things that always get left out, and you have to really go sit down and do the nitty-gritty. And then now comes in our diaspora. Hapa ndio sasa, because we are dealing with foreign exchange, and that just throws the math off completely, totally. And people don't seem to understand it until it's almost broken down. You're given a karatasi brand and you're told, okay, this is how much money you put in, and you put it in the year 2000, and this is how much it was. Go ahead, Micah.
Mimi nataka kuuliza tu swali. When we talk about money,
Yes.
and at least as we talk about, tutoke hata kwa investments na
Correct.
mambo yote na nini, right? Let's bring it down a few levels.
Okay.
How do we talk about money in terms of family terms, right?
Family.
We talk about the properties that we have in inheritance, what you plan to do. Do we talk as with your spouse? Because ikifika story ya do Kenya uko ni story ya nani na benefit from nani, atuongeange juu ya story ya how financially literate are you. When you start talking to somebody, you ask them how financially literate, you ask them about their debt, you ask them about the investment, you ask them about, because isn't it to affect the future when you're starting out in our age?
We're not taught to talk about
wengi
money.
wetu tumeoa ama tunafikiria kuoa, na hata kama tumeoa tuko na watoto wenye tunafaa kuachia vitu. We start looking at the fact that most of us, we are nearing retirement. We are closer to retirement than we were to starting a new job. Sasa tukifutwa job, kupata job ni hard kwa sababu tunaonekana ni kama tumezeeka, skills zetu za kitambo. We are not that marketable in the market. So how are we ensuring that our tomorrow years are going to be softer, are going to be better? When you're looking for new jobs, how are we ensuring that you're not leaving money on the table? These are the conversations, like, as people, do we talk about them? When you talk to your friends, do you sit down and talk about money? Do you tell them about how, hey guy, do you have a trust? Do you have this? How have you left money by yourself? Because tunakaribia kukufa. Siulizana kama tuko na wills.
Now,
We kwa nini unaua watu?
Hapo pale umefika Mika, kwanza ni mbali sana.
We kwa nini unaua watu? Si uanze tu hapa pale pa watu ongea ndani ya nyumba about finances. Hapo ndio pali.
Hapo Mika pale umefika ni mbali sana. And I think the issue, like na Kenya is that it's a very subsistence economy. Meaning ile chapa mtu anapata ndo ile chapa anatumia. And then what exaggerates that subsistence, it's a class-based economy. Sasa because I grew up in Nairobi West and hiyo ndo class nilikuwa naishi, but now because of the economy imeenda, I can no longer afford to live in Nairobi West. So it's not an easy thing socially kumigrate na kudowngrade kwenda a different place where rent might be cheaper or cost of housing may be cheaper because of that social stratification. Now, because of that social stratification, you're kind of forced to keep up with the people, not even necessarily going up, but with the people within the social class which you are raised in. The benefit tuko nayo is that we were able to exit and come to the US, and we were not there as our earning years were going up. We're not there within that social stratification. Because hapo ndo mnaona watu wana divide. When you're young, like you're right out of high school, there's kind of equality. Kila mtu ana hustle, either you're going to Kole or you're hustling. But now when years are going by, you're seeing people divert. The ones who got good jobs, wale bado wana struggle. You're seeing some people buying cars, some people buying houses. Kunaanza kuwa na hiyo separation that's active. So with us looking from outside, it's easy to say, kama wezi ku afford nyumba Nairobi West, you know, like nenda Kayole ama nenda. It's easy for us to say from a distance
because we're looking from outside.
Yeah. But the social realities back home, they do not.
Uko na social credit ya kumaintain bana.
Yes, hiyo social credit wezi kuwa natoka Nairobi West alafu unaenda Kayole. Na by the way, sometimes Kayole inaweza kuwa hata ni nyumba ambayo unaweza ku afford kununua, which is cheaper, but then because of that social credit unaona
hata Kayole ni mbali. Ambia mtu atoke Nairobi West ende kuishi Kitengela, mtakosana.
Ya kwanza kwa vumbi.
Mtakosana
kwa vumbi. Hiyo place iko na vumbi
ama taronga.
Na guess what? Ile rent nilipa Nairobi West kwa kabed sita. Kwa Nairobi West ile rent nilipa Nairobi West kwa kabed sita ama kwa one bedroom. Sema kwa one bedroom nilipa 30,000. Kitengela atapata apartment kubwa ya 3 bedroom na iko na servants quarter na hiyo 30,000.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Na hata hiyo 30,000 inaanza kuwa elusive sasa, zinaendelea zikipanda. So, you know, because of those social realities, people end up making financially harmful decisions. But now sasa uko situation where uko na family, uko na watoto.
It's keeping up with the Joneses.
It's not necessarily the Joneses. It's more of the Kamaus and the Njoros.
Si Joneses. Kwa sababu
because Joneses unaenda juu. Hapa you're trying to keep up with your social,
with your
socialized.
Pali ulikuwa where you started.
Yeah. That's trying to keep up.
Think about if you grew up in Umo, na street cred yako iko Umo, are you moving to Jericho? Just ask yourself that. Jericho si mbali sana na Umo. But are you moving to Jericho? Because now ukimove Jerry, you've moved a social strata down.
Umejishukisha, yeah.
Yes.
No, the idea is to move to
ukitoka Umo,
the idea is to move to
ukitoka Umo unataka kwenda Buru.
Yeah.
Ukitoka Buru, unaona, ukitoka Buru unataka uingie at least Wayakiwe, alafu uje Kilimani.
Sasa hiyo ni Joneses sasa.
That's what I'm saying.
Hiyo ni Joneses.
Those are steps.
Kilimani is Joneses.
There are steps.
Again,
Kilimani is Joneses.
No, from Umo. Hiyo ni Joneses, Micah.
Bro, come on.
Wacha nikwambie, from Umo, nakwambia ni hierarchy.
Yeah.
Ukitoka Umo, unaenda Buru.
Pole.
Ukitoka Buru,
yeah,
unaingia Wayakiwe. Unajua Wayakiwe ni ile Kangemi na Karibianga Westland ile.
Si Westland. Usitaje Kangemi sana,
unaguza Naivasha Road. Naivasha Road, unaona, like ama Ngong Road iko nini? Saidi ya Jamu. Like iko karibu na Kilimani, but si Kilimani, unaona, like unaweza unachungulia Kilimani, like unaweza kunusa hewa ya hiyo zip code. alafu kidogo kidogo unatoka hapo unaingia Kilimani, alafu kitoka Kilimani unaingia Lavi Kile, alafu kitoka Lavi Kile unajaribu kuemtukare. No, you know, but the thing is most people hiyo ladder huishia Kilimani pale umejipanga sana, but watu wengi tu wajipeleka kwa force.
But unaona problem ya hiyo ladder ni nini, Mika? Problem ya hiyo ladder ni maybe your career is progressing, income inapanda, but vile income inapanda, expenses nazo zinapanda, which means that savings rate yako iko very low. So hapo ulitoka ukatoka ukenda Buru, to Buru, that's not a bad transition. But now sasa from Buru unataka kwanza kuelekea umesema Wayakiwe ama kwenda Westi.
No matter how you
across the river.
No, see
Westi.
Across
Nairobi River.
my friend.
Westi 100%. Davana, see Westi.
No matter how you dissect.
Ni kuletoka Wayakiwe ama Naivasha route.
Okay.
Ama kina Rescos huko kina Ngongro nini kina jamu.
Hapana, sasa umetoka nyumba ulikuwa unalipa rent Ngiriashu, and then sasa unaenda hiyo progression umeenda, you're going to a place where unalipa rent ya
Mkatati Salasa huko.
No, Salasa ni labda ni Nairobi. Salasa Kilimani huwezi pata rent ya Salasa unapata rent.
No, by the time ufike Kilimani.
Yeah.
No, the thing with Kenya is this. Shida kubwa na Kenya ni pressure ya watu wengine, cause ukiishi Eastlands ama uishi Thika Road unaweza ishi tu fiti sana, ama Mombasa Road kuna sisi unaweza ishi fiti sana, ndio unaweza ishi maisha mengine poa sana, like quality of life is good. And actually for me I think living out in an estate is better than living in Kilimani, having to raise my apartment but unalipa 60-80 90 kwa apartment, na mmega hivi na ziko na kila mtu kuanzia scammers wa Nigeria nini everything, but then hiyo 90,000 ukienda place Ruiru kina Membli yuko napata nyumba kubwa.
Now unaona I think the problem that's there, like for me myself, learning from my parents, especially like learning from my mother, si tukigrow up nilikuwa nashindwa, because me I will always say, like I'm not one of those people who will sit here and pretend that nimetoka mbali. Unajua hapa diaspora kuna watu wengi wanajifanya, kuna watu ambao wanajifanya wametoka mbali, but reality hakuna mbali wametoka. So me I can never pretend that like I struggled when I grew up, ama sijui tulikuwa tupati chakula o nilienda shule bila via. I never went through that experience.
Hiyo ni ukweli.
Yeah, my first struggle was here in the US nilipokuja kuishi America. Hiyo ndio ilikuwa struggle yangu ya kwanza. But one thing that I think, like even with all the finance that I learned from my mother. Mimi nilikuwa nikishangaa, like cause my mother progressed very well in her career. Sasa nilikuwa nashangaa like all the people she was with walikuwa wanaanza ku-upgrade my neighborhood. Si tumeishi Nairobi West for as long as I can remember. Some I used to wonder, kwa nini hata pia sisi hatu-upgrade? Kina fulani wameenda kuishi Lavi, kina fulani wameenda kuishi sijui Garden Estate, kina fulani wameenda kuishi wapi. But now later on, now looking at my mom and her peers in retirement is when I am appreciating.
No difference.
Yes, I'm appreciating the choices that she made, because ye kwanza alikuwa gahana hii kiu ya kutaka ku-upgrade neighborhood. It was just never ever, like a thing. Nairobi West kulikuwa na, there was a large Muslim community, kulikuwa na Waswahili wengi. So yeah, hiyo kitu, like it was just never in her mind. So right now is when I'm starting to appreciate hii issue ya kununua sijui V8. That was just never, it was never a thing at all. But now like sasa ukiangalia and making those comparisons is when unaona kuna difference kubwa. Like the people who upgraded fast kuenda kuishi in renting in very expensive places, you're starting to see them struggle. like in the retirement age. Now your retirement simbali, I know people sometimes look at themselves as young, hii retirement ikombali haiwezi fika, but no, it is it's much closer.
Retirement imefika
it is
bana.
if you're in your 40s, it is way closer than you imagine, than you believe, than you want to see. Hapa Esther Molusa anasema on YouTube, we avoid talking about death and only changa money after one has died, instead of organizing life
But
insurance to deal
she's
with
very
funerals
right.
and airlifts of bodies.
I think you have
She's
a
very right. We can start benevolent funds. Na hizi
Mhm.
benevolent funds zinakuwa zinamsaidia in case we have a death. Tunajua tu what with the process to do. Boom boom na tunaenda. Quite simple, quite easy. Like
Aya.
a funeral is very expensive.
Aya, we have a
Right.
call hapa. Wacha kwanza tupik
Wacha
huyo
tuone
call.
kama huyu kola atachukua simu. 2059, thank you
Only
for calling.
JJ.
2059, thank
Hey,
you for
good
calling
evening.
on
Bless,
Mike Show.
bless up on yourself.
Okay, tell us name and where you're calling from.
Afro-Jamaican man in Toronto, Canada here.
Wagwan, brethren,
Hey,
wagwan,
wagwan,
yachts.
brother.
Yo, Afro-Jamaican, we have
I'm
already,
there, I'm there.
when we come to watch World Cup games in Toronto, I've already booked a space in your basement. So don't say I didn't tell you. It's out in the public. It's out in the public. So,
I hear that.
Yeah,
I'll make sure I'm around when that happens.
yeah. So don't put us in the
You
garage.
said something earlier.
Hmm? Yeah,
No,
go
man,
ahead.
no, man. You guys will be taken care of.
Okay, all right. Talk to us.
You guys taken care of. Yeah, so you said something earlier, but then I'm trying to follow. My Swahili is getting a little better, but I'm not that good yet. My translator is a little bit slow. But you were talking about people teaching kids about like money and finances.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've come across a few situations in Kenya. One person was asking for an iPhone 13 or 14, like $1,500 US, and I'm like, you know, you can buy land for that money, but it never occurred to them to invest that way. They wanted the phone, and these are the same people I see in the club spending sometimes 10,000 shillings, 15,000 shillings on a bottle of wine, and I know they're not making that kind of money. So I think there is a deficit when it comes to financial smartness or financial responsibility that I see in Kenya among some young people.
It's,
You know, I found a money market fund, and I was telling a couple of friends about it, and they've never heard about it. And I'm like, I'm in Toronto, Canada, and I'm hearing about these Kenyan financial houses that paying you 12-13% per annum, and paid. You can get the dividends monthly from it as well, and they've never heard of any of this. So there's a disconnect somewhere, and I don't know how that's going to get fixed, because there's definitely opportunity there, but they'd rather go party it out or buy a new iPhone or some new speakers or something. And it's funny, it's the same thing here with the same age demographic as well. All the education, all the access they can possibly get at their fingertips, but they waste money. And the first check when they get a job is they go get an expensive car that they're paying $600-700 a month for. It's crazy. So it's not just Kenya; it's everywhere.
now, you mentioned something very interesting, and now thinking back, Nairobi especially, and this might be true also in other cities, I'm not sure. There's a big thing about perception. I have to drive a certain kind of car. I have to go and spend money in a certain type of establishment. That thing is big and has destroyed so many people. Because think about it. If, for example, you're working a job where you're earning, let's say, 100,000 shillings a month, and then you're going to an establishment in a weekend where you said you're buying alcohol worth 10, 15,000 shillings, yet you're on a 100,000 shilling a month salary. There's something within your budget that's definitely getting hurt.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
And I think this has to start being, people have to start being groomed from a very early stage on the fact that you can just eat what's enough for you today, and this will be better for you in the near future and in the future. So I think that need for instant gratification is really what has kept a lot of people behind. Very, like people who you believe are well-to-do, and you're like, wow, like how is it that such and such is being evicted? Like they're now asking for money. Like even these influencers, I don't know whether you follow Kenyan influencers, Afro-Jamaican, but even these influencers,
I'm a Nairobi Gossip Club.
So you see there is some of these influencers, they actually sometimes make so much money, like working with certain brands, but all of a sudden you hear that they're being evicted, or they're out there asking people for money. They've spent all the money that they made. So I don't know, maybe Afro Jamaica, what would your advice be, like with yourself having a family, someone who's raising a family, and they're looking to raise their kids in a way that they will look at money in a certain type of way? Afro-Jamaican.
So for the first thing, I explain to my kids that money is a tool, and you can use a tool or you can abuse the tool. We sit. There's a couple books here too. There's one, I'm investing for kids. You sit and read it. I'm gonna explain to them. Listen, let's say I give you your allowance and it's $10 a week. All right, at least 50% of it should go in your bank account right away for savings. That's your savings, and you can use maybe the rest of it and go buy your candy or whatever you need to buy. But don't spend all of it in a week. You need to take a little time over time. Just don't go rush for the instant gratification. If you want a PlayStation or you want something, you're gonna have to save for it. I'm not gonna buy it for you and then have, you know what I mean? Take your time. You need to work for it. Go wash the dishes, go cut the grass, whatever, and let them know that you have to also earn money. Money does not come free. Anytime somebody offers you free money, run.
Wow.
It's never free. So I don't think people really talk to their kids about money. My parents never spoke to me about money. My father is one of the most careful people I know. He would probably put the money under a mattress. He's not a risk taker. So everything I learned, I had to learn as an adult, and because of that, I felt it put me behind. Whereas I am making sure my kids will not have that problem.
Let me say this. I think and that is something that we are learning as we progress in life. Because we are the generation that's, and I think me and Ali and Micah and Omosh have discussed this. We are the generation that has been caught in between.
In between, yeah.
And in between
the past and the future.
The past and the future. We are the ones who are still have something in the past,
yes,
present, and in the future. Case in point, like now, when we immigrated, when we came here, most of us were like about 19, 20, whatever. So now we have been removed from where we were. We have come to a new place, a new world, new environment. There are new rules, new regulations, new entanglement. There's a whole bunch of engagement that is happening here that we were not only were we not prepared for, but we were never taught, because they themselves could not even have known what we were coming to.
Yeah.
Maybe what they've been told. So it has been baptism by fire. So it's like we are going as we make up. We are going as we try to stitch up.
Yeah.
Like even with kids, it's something that, we never, what we knew growing up is not what we're experiencing with our kids, because guess what? We grew up in a majority, let's say, not even majority, it was fully black. Maybe you might have one or two pointees or whatever. But now here you're having many people, a mixture or whatever. So that is also an adjustment. And, to Afro-Jamaican's point, and this is something that our parents, not that they did not fail, but it is something that we can identify as we were not taught But now we have to talk to our kids about investments or whatever. And it's based on what not only either we have learned, if we have been burnt, quote unquote, don't do this, or let us secure the, like even this thing of trying to talk about avoid broti. Let us look at index funds or whatever, because that is something that many of us have known for the longest time. So introducing something that is new, you're like, no, wait a minute, hold on, what is this?
Yeah.
We don't know it, but it's taking time. But unfortunately, in as much as we learn about it or whatever, we still default to what we know.
And that's why diasporans are one of the easiest populations, especially
Absolutely.
the US diaspora is one of the easiest population to scam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because every year or every other year or every 6 months or
There's
whatever,
always a new scam.
there's a new land scam,
Yes.
building scam or whatever. People could be genuine. Maybe. We just don't know that. But we know people who have been, especially in these big groups.
But you know where the biggest blind spot has been outside, like maybe not investing in the right places or spending a lot. The biggest blind spot has been on career guidance. That's true. Because careers, most people are employed. Your career is your biggest wealth making tool. And between 20 to 60, you have a whole 40 years where you're working to earn a living.
Yes.
So now, most of us, and myself included, and that's why it is important to acknowledge where blind spots have been. I've just been moving, not knowing, of course, until, like I started getting coaching from Tabitha, that, by the way, this is how things are supposed to go. Did you know that you can double your pay within less than 5 years? Most people don't think like that. As long as you have your job, you're getting that annual raise, whether it's 3% or 5% if you're lucky, you're okay.
But let's add to that.
Yeah.
Part of the reason is because, and I think she did mention this a while back, is that we are afraid to disrupt
Ali?
The norm.
The norm. Yes.
Yeah, let's hear from Afro-Jamaican before we let him go. Afro-Jamaican.
Yeah. So what you said right there about being afraid is such a real thing. I have been in my job since 2013. Before that, I had a job for 3 years. Before that, I had a job for 10 years.
Wow.
I stay in my companies.
Wow.
My wife made about 30% less than what I made when I started in 2013. Between 2013 and now, my wife makes twice my annual paycheck. But she doesn't stay at one company.
Wow. That is...
She doesn't stay. And the older me is afraid. I'm comfortable. I'm just like, I get paid all right, and I kind of go, whenever I wake up, and whenever I go to work, I go to work. But she is like, no. The minute they miss a beat with her, resignation, find another job, and she doubles my salary now.
That is a mind-blowing example.
These younger.
That is mind-blowing.
These younger people are, yeah. Sorry, man. Go ahead.
No, I was saying that is such a mind-blowing example.
Damn.
Like that right there is an example that Tabitha needs to hear, and she might have a conversation with you, because it is what it is. Like I'm going now close to 9 years in the company I'm working for, and yes, we do get to that comfort zone whereby I'm comfortable here, of course, until the day you get laid off. Because when it comes to layoffs, if they need to do it, they'll do it very quick, and you'll carry your small bag, your little belongings, and you'll go. And sometimes people are not prepared for that.
And I think also, I think there's a time we even had Lavera on the show, and we're talking about just career and instilling, like now, for example, our kids, trying to get them into internships that
will put them in the right place.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it's an encouragement. And we also have to figure out a way to sift through Like, I wanted to say this a while back. I think some of us Kenyans usually have a problem, and the problem is we have a hard mentality. So Ali discovers that you can learn programming using that flask,
Yes.
and the guy is making 100,000. Everyone else is gonna go into that flask and learn
Yeah.
how to program,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Until it is over exhausted
Saturated,
or
yeah.
saturated or whatever. So then Micah comes up with a process. Let's say, you know what, you can learn to do this and this is gonna earn you 500,000. Everyone now starts doing that. There's a hard mentality because, and the reason I bring this up is because, you know, like in 2008, there are guys who just started doing doolies.
Yeah.
Everyone and their mother started doing doolies.
Hiyo story ya duli kuchokesha sana.
That's what happened. So doolies, watu walianza madoolies. Guys got out loans and started doing doolies. People who have never done doolies. So for people who don't, doolies are those things that transport cars. Unanunua gari, unaenda unachukua gari, unaenda to deliver. Everyone and their mother started doing doolies. 2008, nini happen?
Crash. Yeah.
People had even bought 2 or 3 cars. Wakafunga chapter.
Yeah. So to me, I think the biggest thing is, especially if you have kids who are in high school or in college and are going to enter in the workforce soon, it's setting up in the right place, because your career is going to be your biggest wealth builder unless you become an entrepreneur. And you see, the thing is, yes, we sometimes talk about entrepreneurship, but entrepreneurship is not easy. But you can make entrepreneurship easier if you're not depending on your enterprise for your subsistence. Because entrepreneurship becomes difficult if that business you have is what you're depending on for your day-to-day survival. You will not be in a good position to make the right decisions to sustain your business. Because if you're depending on it for survival, you're not looking at the long game, you're looking at the short run. So I think that
right now.
Yeah, you're looking at right now. So I think that becomes a problem. But when you set yourself up, and part of the reason why I personally advocate for starting early, you know, like especially if you have kids who are now of age, they can start at whatever level they are. The earlier you start, the faster it will get you to reach $1 million. I know $1 million seems like a lot of money to a lot of people, but on a salary of $60,000, if you're getting started and you're still living in your parents' house, your annual expenses are not going to be more than $10,000 a year if you're still living in your parents' house. So that's something you can take advantage of. Start just loading up on your savings early inside index funds. It's a modest return, and I know Tabitha has talked about people sometimes not being willing to risk to go to other places where you might find higher returns. What I say, when you start early and you get those modest returns, you're now in a good position now to take a risk. Imagine if you're 27 years old and you have $500,000 in savings. Then you're in a good position to go into entrepreneurship and you have a cushion. But then if you're 43 years old and then you're starting entrepreneurship, you have a family to feed. So now you're looking at this business, it must succeed, because if it doesn't succeed, it means your kids are not gonna eat, or your family is gonna suffer. So yeah, a couple of comments were coming in here as we were talking. Stephen JJ says, kuna wengine wetu sisi ni mayatima, lakini now we are having issues with property. Apparently the house comes up for sale, you don't have the cash, your siblings come up with the money. Once a sibling who was helped passes away, kumbe hiyo usaidizi ilikuwa alone. And then I'm going to come back to Kenya Mashinani's comment. Kenya Mashinani has an interesting comment. but I'm gonna come back to that. Washeke nasema, if possible, one needs to change a job every 5 years, especially when starting out. I totally agree that that's the fastest way to increase your. That's the fastest way to increase your salary.
I think 5 years is
5 years is becoming long. It's even becoming long.
I think 5 years is 3 years.
Yeah.
Because the way things are working, the way things are moving, and even especially say if you're in tech, then you end up also being a little bit behind. If you're because for 5 years, if you're stagnant, your people are not moving. That's why I'm saying like 3 years. But 3 years is actually
3 years is a good time.
3 years is a good time.
Nikwambie,
Go ahead.
ukipata kazi ingine hama wacha kungoja sijui 1 year 2 year 3 years. Ukipata kazi ingine hama.
But Mika,
there's nothing like loyalty. Somebody who has been loyal to a company and somebody who has been disloyal to a company. I've tested both. I highly recommend being disloyal.
No, I agree.
Mika, we understand that, but the problem is sasa now hapo kwa hiring managers au wanaangalia nasema jamaa atatuhepa.
So they don't want to bring
kama
resume iko na 9 months here.
Unasema ulikuwa consultant.
Yeah, that will get you by. That will get you by. Yeah.
So hapa pia Washeke anasema it's the same thing happening in the Pacific Southwest, Washington and Oregon. Kenyans have flocked there. So the same thing to the point that some are making losses. And then hapa going back to Kenya Mashinani's comment, anauliza, what's the secret gluing the four of you for the last 10 years in a busy life of America, keeping this media space going without financial or sponsorship? I think Kenya is volunteering here.
Sisi ni mabeste.
We actually like each other.
Hiyo ndio kitu watu wajuangi that cinema best first.
Yeah, we get along.
We care about each other.
We get along. We care about each other.
Like we are genuinely friends.
Yes.
We are family. Friends. Now everything else that happens after that then is the business.
It's the
business. It's the business of life, I guess is what I would call it, right?
Mm-hmm. No,
but that's a good question.
Yes,
wow.
that's a good question, and I think because kuna watu who like unasikia we went into a partnership or went into this thing together tukakosana. But I think one thing that people always need to value when you have a good relationship, when you've had a good relationship with someone, do not allow pesa ama like a superficial thing
ama mutu aingie ndani.
Whenever you see not ati atupatagi opportunities za kukwaruzana hapa na pale, but I think at the most basic, hata tukikwaruzana, I know deep down Omosh did not say that in a malicious way.
We mean well. We mean well with each other.
Hata tukigombana, we love each other.
Yes, correct. Yes, we mean well with each other.
We care about each other.
Yes.
And you know,
maybe at the worst, the one thing I'll ask them is, are you okay? Before I ask anything else. Like if they are not fine, then siko sawa, and everything else will not go the way it is. So the thing is, for us, is like we are genuinely friends. We care about each other.
And this is something we have to be grateful for, because we live in a world, we sometimes never stop to think about it. We live in a world of very transactional relationships.
Yeah.
Like transactional, sometimes it's not even money. It's kind of like, nataka kujuana na Ali because I think anaweza kuniconnect na hii na hii na hii. Nataka kujuana na fulani. And then you notice sometimes when you assist people, like especially, and I know hapa sasa Washeke na Tabitha watanigonga because they're telling me I'm supposed to be making money. Like when you assist someone, akona issue, maybe a question on either finances or nini, and you genuinely help someone. Do you know sometimes people are like, yani mtu amenisaidia tu, no strings attached.
Hawa wawili umesema ni nani na nani?
Washeke na Tabitha.
Ni wa Kikuyu.
Okay. I did not say that.
Wow.
It is
ameguza nini?
Ameguza Murima.
Okay.
Mimi Murima pia.
But yeye ni Murima. Lakini ameguza Murima.
It's okay because we just wanted it on paper. Ndio sisemekane.
On paper, on air.
Yes. No, on paper paper is the best.
Mogekoyo.
Wacha nikwambie uguze Murima. Ruto alikojolea Murima.
Okay, but mazee, mbona why bring in Ruto? Why bring in Ruto?
Si ati alikojolea peke yake.
Yeah.
Aliharia Murima.
Okay.
He went full throttle.
Yeah, wacha hiyo
sio
hapo.
the-
Hiyo tuongea baadaye. But I think back to this issue of relationships, I think with the different backgrounds that we have, I think each different culture has its own unique strengths and its own unique challenges. You know, one of the challenge from the culture I come from, tuko na hiyo kusaidiana sana to your own detriment sometimes, whereby you're engaging in an activity where at this point you're supposed to be making money, but in your mind you're like, oh, wacha nimsaidie tu. Then unaona saa kama hiyo situation ya Murima, whereby there's so much, like emphasis on entrepreneurship.
You are the last party in the conference.
There's so much emphasis on entrepreneurship, whereby hata vitu zingine you're not supposed to be making money on, but unaona opportunity.
And the good thing that I've learned, let me say this, watu wa Murima saa zingine tunakuanga na kashida, and sometimes it's not all of them, by the way. It's not all, just a few. Programming has it that, let me see what I can get, let me maximize as much as I can. However, culturally, there's some instances where there are certain things that you're not that you're prohibited from doing. You just know, don't do this, because this thing can come.
Yeah, it can come back and bite you.
And you'll find that even if in certain instances, whatever is happening in a family, the questions start being asked, is there something that was done that was wrong?
Yes.
Alafu wanaanza kufanya utafiti, wanaanza kufanya
investigation,
for forensic audit.
Wanapiga jicho pevu.
Wanapiga, wanatafuta, over here.
Alimdhulumu mtu.
Whatever happened.
Yeah.
So something has to be so people go, you find out what should we do, then you're told kuna mutarata.
Ama maybe they unjustly took inheritance.
Something, whatever it is.
Wealth.
Yes. Do this. Or like if let's say a great-great-grandfather said or grandmother said this is not supposed to happen, but somebody went and did.
Yeah.
And then now it becomes a problem. And then once that is corrected, however, whatever the requirement is to correct, mambo inakuwa poa.
Yeah.
Unaget?
Yes.
So there are those who don't care, but then there are also certain rules of engagement that we live by.
Yes,
in as much
absolutely.
as in as much, and this just I don't know about other places, but even with Cukes, there are certain things, and I've learned this because of sitting down with elders, with people in the career, in the farmo, and situations are happening, and like let's investigate. Let us look at something. If there's nothing, then we find a way to go forward. So there are guardrails that help, in as much as we are confined to that, looking for chums. But
kuna limits.
Kuna limits also. Kuna limits, like don't do this because your lineage down the line is gonna get affected. Yes, and it can be affected negatively. And it is because of your greed.
So unaona kama sisi, one of the guardrails in a lot of communities that practice Islam, one of the guardrails is you cannot engage in a business even if it's profiting you that's negatively affecting the community.
Unakumbuka ile siku tulikuwa tunapiga story nikawaambia, lakini vuka hivi nafikiria vile Fadhi alikuwa na kijob gava, mbona kukua mwizi? And then Ali akaniambia lakini unafaa kuwa grateful. Angalia pale mko sahi compare na kina nani.
You'd be looking
mwenye baba yake alikuwa like
you'd be looking over your shoulder.
Tukaa hizo.
And it would have been a war once unfortunately the parents were gone. You guys would be vutanaring shingo.
Mngekosana na brothers. Unaona vile you have a very good relationship with your brothers. Hiyo kitu ingewakosanisha. I mean, we've seen a lot of cases, even in the news in Kenya, whereby watu ni mandugu, lakini now wameanza kuchinjana, or they're not talking to each other because of mali. Because of hella. Yeah. So your kitu, you have to be very careful, because that can separate, it can separate a family and for good.
I know we have another caller. Oh, the caller's hung up. But what I wanted to say, what also for that long,
Yeah.
however long. It's not even just 10 years. It's plus that. It's the engagement and learning from, let's say, Ali, and learning the Muslim way and how to, and how your belief, your religious belief shapes how you think,
Absolutely.
how you process,
Yeah.
how you interact,
How you interact with
how
finances.
you manage,
Yeah.
and especially like with finances. And that now, for me, I'm like, okay, this is interesting because I have one way of thinking. I had one way of thinking, but now this is somebody's introducing me to another way, and
whole
I'm like,
different way.
a whole different way, and it's like, be grateful. And then I have to give a shout out to my brother Dombolo. If there's somebody who is selfless, is that guy. There's nothing about greed within him. So I have this Murima guy, then I've got my Muslim brother over here, and I'm like, okay, if this guy is doing this and this guy is doing this, so there's a relationship. So it also. Oh, and by the way, my daughter, what did she tell me when we came for?
Yeah.
What did she?
Yeah. She wants.
Alikwambiaje?
Anataka kuingia mambo ya stocks. Yeah, which is very good.
At 13.
If she's starting at 13,
Yes.
by the
She
time
like, Uncle Ali, I want Uncle Ali, and so they even had a conversation. And I'm like,
it already shows the
that
way.
day.
Jerry, yeah.
And by the way, that
They are
means
Caro.
she's paying attention
She
to some
is.
of the things that we are talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. As
Yeah.
much as we think
Wow.
kids
Yes.
are not listening. Yeah. And she told me, alikuja straight kwangu, like na.
She did a beeline direct to you.
Yes, direct.
Came to this guy.
Yes. And and that's something, it would be good to start it at this stage, whereby by the time Anafika 21, she'll be very skilled in understanding, like the gravity of money. Like
Just to understand.
yes,
And
just to understand it. Because ukiungua at age 14, 15, those are lessons you're learning very early.
Because almost think about it. Why would I not want to go to a place whose religious foundation prevents them from gorging me interest-wise?
So now
Think about that. And I mean, and
so interest actually is a very small part.
it's a small part.
But I think it's larger than life because people get very shocked. Interest. Kwa nini hutaki interest?
Exactly.
So people get very shocked.
So think
but
about
there's
that.
reasoning.
When you're being chapped at doing 10, 6, 7% or whatever, but here you're being told maybe 0.1 or 1%, whatever the percentage is.
Yeah.
And a guy doesn't want to hemorrhage you. Why would you not want to be in there? Because you know very well that the foundations have formatted or have created individuals who are genuine when it comes to biashara. They're not trying to milk you. They're not trying to gorge you. All they're saying is, give us kitu kidogo, but
Yes.
we'll give you something that
Or
will benefit.
wouldn't you rather than loan you money, let's get into a partnership.
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get into a partnership where hauna pesa, I have the money.
Exactly.
Let's sign an agreement. Whatever agreement we sign, let's get into a partnership.
Someone like me, I'd be
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'd open a bank account. If I have to open a bank account, okay, let's do this and let's do this. Because guess what? I can finance my house. I can finance something.
And
tunakubaliana.
and now you see within our Muslim cultures, so there's certain things, even the different communities, you'll find Waswahili, for example, hiyo part ya biashara is not as emphasized because there's a whole segment on business transactions in Islam, and there's very thick books about it. The basics are out there, but now you see the people who one of the Muslim communities that is implementing those rules on biashara ni wa Somali. Sasa kama sisi like a lot of other like Waswahili, for example, that's a part that we've not gotten so into it like what Somalis have.
Right.
And of course you're seeing the results with all these profits they're making in all these businesses that they're doing. As long as there's no injustice in whatever you're doing.
Why not?
And injustice could be, like gorging someone.
Yes.
Injustice could be, telling someone. It could be something as simple, telling someone, whatever is in this cup is 2 liters, when actually it's 1.9 liters. In fact, that is very, very, that right there is very, very dangerous.
Yes.
Hiyo is something that we try to stay away from. It could be, it's sometimes very simple things whereby you're told you'd rather sell it more expensive, but tell someone the truth. Take it to see 2 liters, it's 1.9 liters.
And that is, I'm going back to answer the guy who was asking about us knowing each other for that long. And those are the things. That's what I've learned.
Yeah.
So I find myself secure in this environment with my brothers.
Yeah.
And dealing with family and stuff, because 10 years is a long time.
It's more than 10 years, by the way.
More than 10 years.
It's more 10 years ni hapa Kilimanjaro.
It's from 2008.
If you count from Matchbox, from if you count from Matchbox from Mex,
2010.
Yeah, 2010. So we're talking 15 years. Yeah.
And by the way, we're going to be putting up our Cash App handle and our Zelle.
Mwanze kutulipa sasa.
Mwanze kuweka
hiyo 15 years tukicalculate hizo hours zote.
OneMic@gmail.com is our Zelle account.
Yeah.
Na nimeweka huko.
Tukicalculate hizo hours zote. Do you know how many fruities those could be? Maguta.
By the way, we have a caller.
Okay, well, let's pick up the call.
Because we're about to wrap up this.
Yeah, people like calling when we're about to wrap up.
0073. Thank you for calling the One Mic Show. 0073.
And One Mic likes wrapping up.
I failed at that.
Welcome to the One Mic Show.
Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, this is Washeke. I'm calling from Numea.
Hey. Wanumea.
Umepotea hapo.
Wanumea kwani hakuna bando.
Ati wapi?
Wanumea hakuna network.
Crimea.
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 Oh.
Numea. Huku South Pacific.
Hauna network.
Wameguza mlima huko.
Wameguza mlima. Iko mtu ameguza mlima huko.
Wewe Numea,
mbona kuna echo?
Because I think you still have your gadget playing, so I think you need to turn it off.
You're probably listening to the show as you talk.
Yeah, you're listening to yourself. You're listening to your nice voice.
Ukisema gadget unajua it's a wide scope.
Your gadget.
A gadget is a wide scope.
Hiyo ni Micah amesema. That has nothing to do with the One Mic Show. Washeke.
Micah tapigwa ngoto. So anyway, this is something to me. We've mentioned before on the show, but I think it's worth mentioning again. Sisi watu tuko hapa and we are raising kids and we're still investing at home. And we're raising kids and we are investing at home. Are we talking to our kids about the properties we are buying in Kenya? Because I foresee a situation where, when you pass away, we are all dying at some point, and your kids will not even know where the properties are or how to navigate to get access to those properties. And Najua, Kenya is not very easy and it's not very straightforward. So are we having those conversations? We're leaving our children in the dark. Na hiyo pesa yote you've invested is going to go down the drain or be inherited by other people.
That's why I usually like telling people, get a will and a trust, right? At least with your trust, everything is secured. Like you have a trust, you have beneficiaries to that trust. So you know where all your properties are. They're going to be given to somebody specific that you've chosen. So it's something that's quite easy. And Vile Washeke amesema, the thing is this, teach your kids your business, right? Usikue umefungua butchery, umepeleka watoto wako shule, wamesoma, wamekuwa engineers, and you have not taught even one of them how to run the butchery, and that butchery is what's actually sustaining your family. Watasota. The reason why unaona watoto wadosi ukufu wanakamwa wanasota ni juu hawajui biashara za wazazi wao. So how wanajua tu biashara umekdo, they drain from the business. They don't know the running of the business, they kill the business, then they go broke. So teach your kids. If you're a business person, if you're an entrepreneur, fundisha mtoto wako biashara. Mfundisha vitu zenye ufanya. Kama una maploti unafanya nini, teach them what they do. Like let them have their careers, but teach them the business. Teach them how to look after the business.
And to buttress,
you'll build generational wealth. But if you're just building wealth to provide na ufundisha watoto wako, watasota. Your grandkids watakuwa maskini.
And to provide context, what Micah is saying, and I think we've I mean, again, I don't mean to rehash, but we shall rehash, you know. Wakati tulikuwa tunaenda kununua uniform za shule, tulikuwa tunaenda wapi?
School outfitters.
Kenya uniforms.
Who are there to approach us and to help us?
Nani?
I guess mwenye duka, but the cows, I guess, whoever worked for them.
And
whoever worked for the Indians.
And sometimes those Indians who are
duka za Indian unapata mtoto anachukua pesa.
Who's checking you out?
Yeah, it was the kids, yes.
Thank you.
They're teaching us, yeah.
We are not that with our children. That is why you find that Tuskies, they fight. Wanaona hapa ni pesa inakuja. Hii kitu ina collapse. Because you think about it, like even over here, like when you find that when you look at NFL, when you look at any sport, NASCAR 500, whatever, you find it's a family.
Yeah, the Lakers is a family business.
It's a family business. When you look at Schottenheimer, the coaches, wote, kuna tree.
Kuna aspect of business continuity that I think people don't take seriously, or people sometimes look at it like, oh, I still have time. I will teach them. I think, in fact, ukifika a certain age, you know, like I think at any age when you're running the business, even if you're in your 30s and you have a child who's of sound understanding, from whatever level they can understand, start explaining to them what you're doing.
In as much as, like, for example, Washeke.
Yeah, I think I have a different take to what Ali is saying.
Okay,
I think tunakuanga na...
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think tunakuanga na trauma related to money. And so you grow up struggling, and then when you make it, you don't want your kids to know anything about the struggle. So where you're running your successful business, but you want your kids, those things that you had wanted for yourself when you were young, like going to the best schools, best vacations, all these activities, you want them to concentrate there. So they are so far removed to what you are doing the day-to-day, so they don't even know about your business. And that's why you find when, you know, founders of these businesses, they die, they don't know what to do because they were so far removed from it, because their parents, they never dealt with the trauma related to money. So I think that's something that's detrimental and is preventing businesses from growing to one, second, third, and fourth generations like the Asians do.
Unajua pia shida yetu ni nini? Shida yetu ni we want to give the best to our kids. So we think that if we provide everything for them and we shelter them and just give them the opportunity to thrive, right? Wewe shida yako ni kusoma tu. Hauna shida ingine kwa hii dunia. Ni kusoma na kila kitu kama. We forget that you're not teaching them basic survival skills.
Yes.
Huku nje. So our need of doing good ends up being we are doing bad to them.
But
because tunaangalia zile za, unajua kuna mzazi ufikiria ile struggle alipitia, hata kani kidogo anasema mtoto wangu anapitia hiyo. Unajua nini? Hata sema ulikuwa unakula ice cream once a week, unasema mtoto wangu atakula ice cream bila alikuwa anataka, hata kwa ananyimwa. Hata si tuliteswa au kuteswa, ulikuwa unafundishwa, but wewe kwa akili yako unajiambia kila mzazi utaka mtoto wake have a better life than me.
Unajua Miko umesema hivyo. There was an interview where Michelle Obama said, and it was so profound, hii kitu ya being too friendly to your kids, to the point where like anything they ask for unawapatia. So the first time they are being told no is outside the home. Amesema that is so dangerous because if you're constantly, if anything mtoi anauliza anapewa, what builds up in that child is that this is how life is. Anywhere I go ask for something, I'll be given.
And an entitlement.
So these are the kids who have a very difficult time getting along with people at places of work. They have a very difficult time because akona hiyo entitlement. Nimekuja na hii idea, ni lazima ikubaliwe. If it's not accepted, it's because these people are toxic.
They are 100%.
Yes. So those are the things that I think, because of lack of a village, inafika point where sometimes even as a parent, you're just moving blindly. You don't know that there are these very important skills that you're not building in your kid.
Ali, by the way, sometimes it's not even lack of a village.
It's
the parent.
Sometimes it's a parent. Yes, washeke.
So ni mzazi. Unajua mzazi anakosana na vile anakuambia utanifundisha kulea mtoto wangu.
Exactly.
Yes.
Mimi mtoto wangu hamtaniambia vile mnafanya. And that's been an argument so many times. Even so many people in romantic relationships have had that issue because maybe one of them has a kid and they're dating and they're like, I don't think that's how it's supposed to be. Unapoe tusikosane, ni mtoto wangu si wako. Draw the boundaries, si mtoto wako.
Washeke as you wrap up.
Yeah, what I wanted to say, adding into that is, and I think this is more prevalent in Kenya than here, because in Kenya they have nannies, house managers, gardeners, and what have you. Unapata mtoto hapo 12 years, sa hizi like si lazima ajue kuosha vyombo vizuri, but at least hata atoe kwa meza, apanguze, afanye nini. My daughter is 10 years. Akimaliza kukula, anaenda kama kuna remnants, anaweka kwa trash, ana rinse, and a load dishwasher. When I do the laundry, nakaanga chini, na kunja zake na kuhang, and I do the same. And unapata, like, parents in Kenya are not doing this. So, like, if you don't teach, just a basic skills that every human being should learn. But unapata, we are not teaching our kids. Lakini unasahau, like, huyu mtoto atagrow akuache, or circumstances might change tomorrow. You might die, and they end up being orphans. Maisha will be very, very hard for them because they'll not be able to navigate. For me, we are raising our daughter to be able to, advocate for herself and be able to adapt to the world whether we are there or not. I think we're doing a disservice to our children by raising them like we'll always be there for them. We are not going to be there for them. You leave your kid in school for 10 now plus hours. Me, I tell my daughter, mimi nimekuachalewa asubuhi. Whatever happens, you have a voice. If you're not happy, go there, armed with facts, tell them how you feel and what changes you want. You can't just say this is how you feel. You also have to tell them how you want them to make it better for you. Because that's how, even in the workplace, in corporate America, if you're not happy about something, that is how you approach it. You say, like, this is the issue and this is how we can solve it. So that's even how you grow in your career. Like me, we're really, I see a great difference. Like when I go to Kenya and see those things, I really pity them. Also the fact that most parents in Kenya are very removed from their children. They've outsourced parenting completely to the nannies, the gardeners, the drivers, what have you. That is so wrong. The next generation, I really feel bad for them.
You're talking next. They are already here. That generation is they're already adults.
To support what Washeke is saying, yeah. Well, you think about it, like what she's just said. Amefunza mtoi wake kama ni kupika, to prepare something, to do clothes, fold, to do chores, simple things, right? Because at some point, lazima akuwe self-sufficient. I think in addition to that, and I think Ali has always been an advocate for this. Let us include into that mathematics of trying to be self-sufficient, even financial knowledge.
Absolutely.
Period. So that huyu mtoto anaweza amka like now, you know, our daughter over here, she can wake up probably, anaweza jitengenezea mayai, make for herself breakfast, sit down, eat, right? So in the same in the same context, you know, she can financially, you know, like anapewa $10, anachukua 5, anaeka mahali, something simple. We're not talking about you start giving us my theorems and my codes and whatever, but just something small, and that way they become self-sufficient. Because I always tell people, and this is something that I've learned, and it's always true, watoto ni wapita njia. Children are sojourners. They'll come to your house, maximum they're gonna stay 18 years.
Na unasikia
na watoke waende.
Unasikia when wahenga walisema asiyefunzwa na mamaye
atafunzwa na ulimwengu.
Yes. That's a very true saying. Now these lessons should not be limited to finance.
No.
It should be finance, survival skills, like Washeke is mentioning, health. That's another very important topic that even adults are supposed to be learning. So I don't even know how you teach your kids if even adults are not sometimes fluent on matters health. And then there's just ethical issues. That's another very big thing. You see the society we have in Kenya today, whereby corrupt people, thieves, are being celebrated.
Yes.
It means there's a breakdown. There was a breakdown somewhere.
Let me tell you.
Yes, talk to us, Washeke.
Sorry for interrupting. Let me tell you,
okay.
Ethical is very easy. Kids are born with ethics. Sisi ndio tuna nini, mess them up. For instance, like I've seen with my own child, she's very black and white. Okay? So akichelewa, you know, when she leaves for school, she gets a tardy. So one day I tested her, nikasema, like, go, I know we're just late for 2 minutes, but you should not get a tardy, you're late for 2 minutes. So don't get a tardy, just tell the teacher, akasema hapana, I'm late, whether it's 2 minutes or 10 minutes, I am late. Kids know right and wrong, but sisi wazazi huwa ndio tunawafanya waanze kudanganya. For instance, unajua, you know something is not right, but you're lying and you're telling your child to lie. That is how they learn. And that's how Kenya has become so corrupt. For instance, unajua vizuri mtoto wako hakupita kwenda Alliance, na yeye anajua vizuri hana hizo grades za Alliance, lakini wewe unaenda unahongana na huyo mtoto anajua unahongana. What lesson are you teaching? Because he atajua in life, like, this is how life is. You're never gonna change that mentality, and that's why we are where we are in Kenya. But if we leave the kids the way they are when they're young, they have ethics. They're born with ethics.
But you see, but you see, Washeke, kids, like you said, I think kids are born with a natural ethical instinct, but then now they start getting conditioned by what they see around them. So wakiona baba, because kids are very smart, wakiona baba kila siku analeta mali nyumbani ya kuiba, taking stuff from someone else that doesn't belong to them for their own use becomes an okay thing to do. They learn those things very slowly. And a lot of other things. If they see you mistreating, let's say, your house help, so the kids grow up knowing that this is how, like, people who are subservient to you or people who are answering to you are supposed to be treated. If you see people who naturally akienda pali hata kama kwa restaurant, instinct yake ni kutaka kusomea waiter, kutaka kusomea kila mtu, akienda pali anataka kusomea wochi, look at where they were raised. That's where all these things come from. So if you don't arm yourself with those 4 things, and then now you see you have another set of parents who believe that it's legit. Kama umehustle, umeenda ukagonga watu na ukapata hiyo chapa, they believe that that's okay. and that's unfortunately what they pass on to their children. And that's the reason why now we are in a society in Kenya where people are, like people are praising someone who's known to be a thief, someone who's known to have committed all kinds of criminal offenses. We even have people voting for these people as the president of Kenya. And we are seated here now wondering what exactly hit us. Yet, this guy's his criminal record was out, open for the world to see. But what wakakazana ati he has, like a good program, he has a good manifesto, so let's vote for him. So those are things that and those are things that are hard to
Na hiyo
cure.
criminal record ndo tulimsifu nayo, tulimsifu ni hasla, ameuza kuku mpaka kwa bilionea.
Yeah. But yeah, and then a few comments were coming in before we wrap up here. Kenya alikuwa nasema I have met two of the good crew, Ali and OneMic, in Swahili Village, DC, after Azimio event. Came all the way from Pennsylvania. Shukran sana Mkenya Mashinani. And then anasema, I have been very skeptical and made to fear the Somalis based on media narrative. But Somalis are go-getters. Isli is raising floods and changing the landscape from remittances. Go visit a community built mall in Minnesota. They have a rep in Congress. They run tracking, taxis, and businesses in Minnesota. Kenyans, we need to emulate. Yeah. Hii mambo ya kwenda na media narrative, I tell people to be very careful.
It's
very, very careful.
I had Somali tenants, and let me tell you that me and my mom used to go at it because of the tenants. And I used to tell us, like, forget all those things that you have been told. It's like, oh, they leave many in the house, they'll mess up the house. They turned out to be one of the best tenants. And they were faithful, paid on time. They did what was supposed to be, what was necessary. Na wako watu wengi kwa nyumba. So hata hizo vitu sijui. And then
media narratives.
And na wako
Let me tell you.
Na hawakuwa na vitanda, walikuwa na ilikuwa ni mattress tu ndio hao weka kwa chini, si ndio? Yeah.
Media narratives.
I think even furniture was sparse in the house because wamezoea kukaa chini communally. So it was very interesting, but it was that whole belief of, if you have something, they will mess you up.
Thank you, Washek. I know she's still on the line.
Unajua shida ni, as human beings, we are programmed to eliminate the negativity more than the positives, right? Hata wewe sahi hapo nje,
You are the last part.
hata wewe hapo nje kuna mtu anakujua na akujui kwa uzuri.
Correct.
Kabisa, yeah.
Correct.
Na hiyo ndo amechukua kabisa, hiyo ndo vile anakujua, akikuona atakujaji na hiyo.
Yeah.
Unaona? So kwa sababu we that's how we've been programmed to be. But then if you find people who open themselves, do you know why extroverts are successful in life? Because extroverts ni watu kuja hivi mahali ajui watu make friendships, because you angalia the positive of people hapo sahi.
Yes.
What I'm seeing now is what I'm feeling, right? And when you see that in people, and a lot, that's what people are. Kushinda kenye haujajua, hujui, unajaribu kutafuta. If you come with a negative connotation about somebody, you'll not be looking at their good, utakuwa unatafuta hiyo ubaya kwa wapi. Hiyo ndo mimi najua. Where's the thing I'm familiar with?
Ndo hivyo sasa.
And let me say a thing, Sheke brings up a very valid point. I think, and again, we are the generation that is always in transition, because we are the ones who are caught between our parents, the old life and the new life. So we are the ones who are receiving, and now we are first generation to go up. So now we are still trying to figure that out. But all that matters is that we know now, and it's a matter of adjusting. And on top of adjusting is to try to accommodate ourselves. Na wahenga walinena kilicho na mwanzo hakina budi kuwa na mwisho. Meli imetia nanga. We are about to wrap this puppy up. Bika och! Kadhe! Togende!
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's been another wonderful Friday, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for everybody who's joining us, my fans, wachangiaji wetu. We are glad to be here with you. The weather is getting good. Hey, mi nakwambia mpaka jana nilikuwa najiuliza usiku inafika saa ngapi. Nimezoea giza kufika mapema. Jana nimejiuliza usiku inafika saa ngapi. But all in all, I just want to tell everybody, have a nice weekend, enjoy yourselves, and take care of yourselves. Don't drink and drive. Be safe. Kwaherini.
Asante Mikasi. Thanks to our callers, our mafans, our wachangiajis, to the new people who are following our show, the ones who are coming in between, and to the oldies and the golden oldies. Asanteni. You know, without you guys, we would not be doing this. So as we're now rolling into summer, you know, it's that time to enjoy with the fam. There's more daylight. You know, weather is changing. You know, take a loose walk, 30 minutes, 25 minutes. You know, try to, you know, kidogo ka healthy apple, umana na kamaji hivi. You know, those things, they go a long way. Ask me how I know. So with that said, we appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good week. Hug your loved ones and continue to live life. Juu maze kesho haikuwagi promised. I'll see you.
All right. Asante sana. Asante DJ OmoshFaya. And asante to everybody who tuned in. We appreciate you. April is coming up. We're going to have a very big month in April. Hii March imekuwa slow kidogo because kuna wengine wetu tuko Ramadhani bado. So yeah, I expect some very big things in April. You know, I appreciate you always being here with us.
Tunaenda marathon. Bosto.
Wow, you know,
Omosh asked me that today.
And I'm
like,
unajua nyinyi watu, you guys chekesha mi.
Where Micah, are you still there?
Okay, that's a very valid question.
Okay, aendelea.
Is Wanjeri gonna
host
sort us?
Boss.
No, not only host us, feed us, do everything.
Because she has
uko na air mattress.
Eh?
Uko na air mattress.
She has a new abode.
Me atakwa.
See, there's a new abode. Si ako na Airbnb.
No, uko na air mattress.
Me atakwa carpet nalala. Mi sina shida.
And by the way,
I think in camera
we take the queue, infinity queue, Kerea na
atuchajiwi ati sijui mileage
$45
nothing. Kuna wase tutawafunga tu ngeta all the way mpaka huko.
Si tulichukua hapa Honda Pilot marabiri na akuwa na kasheshe.
Mzee, it's a different era. It's a different generation.
Unasikia?
It's all right.
It's a different generation.
Tutachukua rental me now. Ajidrive.
Yeah, but that's interesting. So kuna Boston Marathon coming up and then there's LA
7s.
Yes. Okay. LA 7s. LA 7s is both the men and the women.
Yes.
May 15?
No, it's not
early.
15th. It's
sorry,
early May.
You know, I was ahead of myself. I was at BN.
And then that's BN.
And then there's BN.
Yeah, there's BN.
May 12th. Where Micah?
Yeah.
Signed off.
Yeah.
Micah signed off.
Yeah. Micah by now ashafika nini? By now ashafika hata kwa club, you know, yuko hapo katika ashaoda drink hata. But yeah, you know, like quite a few things coming up. The one other interesting thing that I've not thought about is how hot the World Cup is gonna be next year. That is something
the more you think about it, the more you process, the more you start seeing the intricacies. Because this orangutan, I'm telling you, let's wait and see.
There's a chance that this World Cup may just end up being a big disaster. There is a chance. I'm not saying it will, but there's a chance, especially after having World Cup come at Qatar, which was so amazing. I don't know.
I think all in all it's going to be good because World Cup is bigger than Joker X. It will work out. World Cup is bigger than that.
We shall see.
No, it's going to work out because you don't have a choice. At that point you're a global citizen at that point.
My guy,
you do not have a choice.
Do you think Orange Man?
No, you see,
orangutan is talking trash uko.
Anaweza ongea vile anataka.
Juu ya Europe.
Anaweza ongea vile anataka kuongea, but down on the ground. Remember, this thing is not just about one country, two countries. It is worldwide. Unajua, this is I don't think anajua the massiveness of soccer or football or whatever you want to call it. Ball. Kadimpa. I don't think anaelewa.
Well, let's wait and see.
Atajionea. And kama kuna vile anaezwa, hii kitu itamweza in 6.8 seconds.
We shall see.
All right. Yeah. Now, well, kwa wale ambao bado wanataka kunipigia simu, nambari yangu bado ni ile ile 1-800 mteule. Operator akishika simu, mwambie unataka kusema na mjukuu. Na akikuuliza ni mjukuu yupi, mkumbushe ni mjukuu yule yule wa Masai. Because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui, na sibagui. Kwaherini.
Aiden, Daddy loves you. Njeri, Daddy loves you. Nemo, Daddy loves you. Until next week, be blessed.
By the way, guys, we got an offer for accommodations in Canada. I'm just letting you guys know.
For the World Cup?
Yes.
Okay.
Liwala. Afro-Jamaican man, Wagwan brethren. What happening? Yeah, you're a Rastafari.